Welcome to H.Y.S.T, the Halloween episode. I'm Bradley Hackworth, joined by Jonathan Ems, otherwise known as Doc.
Aloha, motherfuckers.
Happy Halloween. This week we're going to be covering 13 Ghosts and the Serpent and the Rainbow. And... Ooh, I loved it. We're going to go right ahead and we're going to jump in on the 13 Ghosts. Because, well, it's going to get us going. And the Serpent and the Rainbow, I feel like that's going to kick up a lot of side conversations. I feel like that's really going to kick some stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the 13 Ghosts, I think that's going to be kind of easy just to kind of bust through.
Mm-hmm.
All right. By the way, did you check the writers on 13 Ghosts?
You know, I remember I was looking at it during the I was looking at the opening credits, and I remember going, "Oh," but now I can't remember why. So,
all right, well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
13 Ghosts, directed by Steve Beck, story by Robb White, screenplay by Neal Marshall Stevens and Richard D'Ovidio, and James Gunn.
Oh, okay. That was the O. Yep. That.
I feel like after seeing where James Gunn went to what he has become, I feel like I can see where his influence was in this movie.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm betting the nanny's lines. All of the nanny's lines were very James Gunn lines.
That and a lot of what Matthew Lillard said.
Yeah, yep, him too, for sure.
A lot of his lines were, yeah. Gunn kind of like keeps working with the same people over and over again. I wonder why I've never seen any of these actors show up in anything he's ever done since.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Huh?
I'd say off the top of my head, probably a studio thing. For some weird reason, I can't for the life of me figure out why. Hollywood does not seem to be as enamored with Lillard as they used to be.
No, not so much, and that is a mistake.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
he's been doing pretty good. He's been doing pretty good in TV, though. He's doing okay. So,
well, yeah, I mean, he absolutely can carry any film
for sure.
Like, no, he's like. Hopefully, we get a return of him back into the limelight. But this one, starring Tony Shalhoub, Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth, Alec Roberts, and Embeth Davidtz. Now, you know Embeth Davidtz from quite a few things, right? I looked at some of her credits, and there was pretty much just a bunch of stuff that you like.
Who was she again?
The one who played Kalina.
Oh, yeah. You know, the whole time I kept thinking I recognized her somewhere, and I couldn't quite place it.
Quite a few places, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, like, what? I didn't do my IMDb research on this one, because
I did way too much, and I watched both movies today, because this week has been kind of crazy. Yeah. So I didn't do enough, and I didn't write as much as I should have down. But I do recommend checking that out.
Okay.
But 13 Ghosts. Okay. How many good movies came from Dark Castle Entertainment?
Oh, those guys, they were kind of the it, you know, in the same way that
now, I might be thinking of the wrong one, because I remember just jumping on a huge kick of really terrible horror movies in like the early 2000s, and I thought they were all Dark Castle.
You know, it's possible. I'm trying to remember my company names. Maybe because I'm thinking before what's his name, the guy before Blumhouse came around, there were a couple of companies.
Rodriguez?
Not Rodriguez, no. I'm thinking like
Miller?
Full Moon. I might be thinking about Full Moon. He's there.
That might be the one I'm thinking of.
Like Doll Man and the Toy Master, or no, the Puppet Master. And
it's been too long since I've seen Puppet Masters. Mm-hmm. Those movies were like, when I was a kid, they absolutely terrified me. So I don't know what I can say on that one. Well, we open on F. Murray Abraham as Cyrus and his overly shiny collection team, which I knew it was coming. It was like one of the very few details I remembered about this movie, but it was like, oh God, I get it. I get it.
It was like because especially when you get like as soon as Lillard shows up and he's doing his whole like thing, they're in my head. I'm thinking this is like the Dark Mirror universe Scooby Gang, because Lillard is still
Yeah.
Shaggy, but he's Shaggy without the weed, and now he's got a career as a ghost hunter, and you got F.
So
Murray
you're saying
Abraham.
this is Shaggy further down the rabbit hole because
Right?
he was on
Yeah.
amphetamines.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. Yep.
So he upgraded from weed and he went a little further.
Right. Yeah. And and F. Murray Abraham, he's Freddy. He's the guy with the money and the plan. So doesn't really do anything but barking orders at everybody. So we were missing our Daphne and Velma from this. Instead, we just got a tack team of some kind that. Yeah.
Oh, see, you're just talking too early in the movie. Shannon Elizabeth is Daphne. You got the nanny maybe being Velma, or maybe the nanny's Daphne. You got the little kid being Scooby Doo, and you got the dad being Fred.
Okay.
I did this whole thing, but like a page
Shalhoub,
later in my notes.
Honestly, I think Shalhoub is closer to Velma than anybody else in the movie. I would say.
Well, I'm just gonna flat out disagree. Like, what? I mean, make your case.
Okay, you're right about the kid being Scooby Doo, and I think both the daughter and the babysitter are two Daphnes. So we got two Daphnes. So if there's anybody there who's going to be like, an actual like problem solver, the Velma. Shalhoub comes the closest. He's not great in this, mind you. He kind of fumbles a bit, but you got Lillard kind of, not wanting to get involved until he's forced to, and then everybody else is a villain, And in this one, Fred is the villain because F. Murray Abraham is basically Fred, and the whole way through, he's just an evil mirror universe Fred.
I think you're reaching really far to not make Tony Shalhoub Fred, because the Tony Shalhoub is Fred. He comes up with the plan. They're in the library. They come with the plan. It doesn't work. It comes to this. It falls apart. That's literally Fred.
Okay, all right. I see
he's the driver of the car. He is the one looking over. I mean, like, it's
okay. Well, see, I liked the idea of F. Murray Abraham being evil Fred. That's why I kind of wanted to stick with that one.
Well, no, I mean, this is an episode of Scooby Doo. There is literally the rich guy who's behind everything. It's F. Murray Abraham is the Scooby Doo villain.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yep, that's true. I guess it seems. Yeah, I guess that means this is the Scooby Gang that's Velma-less for some reason. We got two Daphnes instead.
Oh my God, Doc! This is literally an episode of Scooby Doo. They get lured because a rich uncle died and left everything to Scooby.
Right.
I think that's like 10 of their episodes.
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard in this one is the psychic who helps. Right. And then we get another John DeSantis appearance. I think this is the third John DeSantis appearance on this channel.
Really?
Yeah. He was in life they called him the Breaker, but in the context of the myth and everything that we need for the house, he is the Juggernaut.
Right. Okay, I remember. Yeah, that's okay. And what did we see him in last?
I can't remember what he was in last that we covered. Probably another one of the monsters in one of these horror movies.
Because he's a big, intimidating looking dude. Yeah,
that he is. But in Master and Commander, he was the giant guy who was obsessed with all the with polishing silver the entire movie.
Right. Okay. All right.
A very funny role for him to be in, but which I just loved it. And Lillard has that unbreakable power. Literally.
Right. Yeah.
Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense. That is literally Matthew Lillard's power in this movie.
I believe the word for it is clairvoyance, if I'm remembering my psychic talk correctly. To be able to touch something and see its past or or history or something like that, and maybe even its future. I think that's called clairvoyance. I might be wrong. On
That's
that
a
one.
detail I don't have.
It's been a long time since I ordered the Time Life series on that subject. So
Pretty much, October is the month that I kind of bone up on all this stuff every year and kind of get my refresher.
right.
The super. So we go through, and in the scene, you got them spraying blood all over the place to try to lure the Juggernaut in.
A freaking one of those like gasoline tanker trucks that is apparently full of blood. They're hosing down the junkyard that this ghost is hiding in to tempt him out.
No, that's just a water truck.
Well, I mean, tanker truck.
You don't go to races.
Huh?
So you don't go to races that often, do you?
I don't believe I have ever been to a race in my life.
So on dirt track racing, they have trucks like that will spray the track with water to make it so it's more mud for the race. That's just your standard ass water truck that does that.
Oh,
okay. That has a specific purpose. But that's going through, and they're laying this trail to get the Juggernaut to come in. And that scene in between Lillard and him freaking out and everything that he's going through with seeing everything and everything's coming, DeSantis coming through as the Juggernaut. I thought like this was a high tension scene for me. Like I thought it was
really fantastic
opening.
And you know, tag team guys are getting tag team guys are getting slaughtered left and right.
In amazing ways.
Yeah, well, and that's what's crazy about this movie. This movie, compared to most horror movies, does not have a very high body count, but the body count it has is unsettling. Everybody who dies in this movie dies horribly.
Huh? I mean, yeah. But I thought I got a really, really potentially too big of a kick out of the supernatural activists.
Yeah, that was I mean that felt a little like why like of all the things like and we'll get to that in a second, but it's like okay, that's a weird take to have. Okay.
I don't think I have ever had a ghost activist in any other movie that I've ever seen, any TV show, any story. I think this is the only time I have seen that, and it still gets the biggest kick out of me.
It's an untapped resource for sure in the literary world. I have to agree.
I like I said, I was having so much fun of it. But then we get our first mention of the 13 Ghosts, and Lillard's freaking out. He's like, "What do you mean 13 and all of this?" And Abraham as Cyrus's response, "Yes, 12 and one more." I thought that was to me that was such a cheeky piece of dialogue. I really enjoyed that. The bait truck spewing the blood, the Latin chants over the speakers, and like you're catching so much exposition, but you're getting it in the world building of this. Like a lot of it gets said, a lot of it is unsaid, and I love that.
Right. I was really impressed with how like this was a wildly high concept kind of horror movie, and they had to do a lot of info dumping, but they did it remarkably naturally.
Never felt lost.
Like in conversation and argument and stuff like that, and like they established that this is a world where magic exists by having F. Murray Abraham insult the tiny little magic book you're carrying still, you know, and yeah, I was kind of impressed with how they were able to do this without dumbing it down, you know, and yeah, able to follow along pretty quickly and kind of made me wonder why we don't have more high concept horror like this. Most horror still is like one thing, and that thing is going like this, you know.
I do have to I'm gonna cut you off a little bit, only because you don't watch enough horror to really comment on that.
That is a very good point.
Like, there might be plenty out there incredible stuff that is coming out all the time. And that's the thing, like the older I get, the more I'm enjoying horror movies because yes, I loved them as a kid because of the creativity and I love to be scared. But the older I get, horror movies are the movies that get the most reaction from me. And that is why I kicked the movies on in the first place, to get that reaction.
Okay.
And so I gotta say, I'll check through, but realistically, we'll be doing this all over again next year. So we got some more horror movies that are going to be.
I know.
You have a year. You have a year to recover. At this moment, captured. We got John DeSantis as the Juggernaut. He's captured. And
he's captured in a box, and one of the TAC team is captured in the box with him and is mutilated for his trouble.
For that guy. Yeah, I felt real bad for that guy. But then Cyrus is dead.
Yeah,
and I'm go ahead.
In the chaos, he gets shrapneled. Yeah.
Oh, hardcore! Like his head, like dang near gets decapitated. Which right over to flashing to happy times, to our actual opening credits for this movie, because everything we just described was the cold open.
Right.
But the flashing to the happy times, we get this beautiful one shot and this pan that goes around the room from where they were to where they are now. And Tony Shalhoub, and it starts with the scene on Tony Shalhoub, and he's very happy. He's like, he loves where he's at. And you hear the story of his wife dying in a fire in the background as the camera pans around the room and then lands back on Tony Shalhoub, a much different man. And that was strikingly beautiful. Like,
very well done, yes.
Have
again given us a massive info dump without having to dumb it down too much. Yeah.
The opening credits in this fashion are eerie and in such a beautiful way. The the little kid Bobby, his gruesome hobby of just going through the newspaper, learn like today on Death in America, somebody has been decapitated. People are being flogged. Like, he's looking for all the I'm loving it.
If it wasn't you, it was someone you knew at that age. We all either were the kid who was obsessed with gruesome deaths, or we had a friend who was obsessed with gruesome deaths. There's one in every neighborhood, at least.
I'm thinking back to, well, okay, no, that's just a lot of the women that I knew, and that has all turned into like those same women being obsessed with murder podcasts.
Okay.
I don't think I knew any guys that were the grim ones like that. I think it was like 5 women.
I knew a couple when I was that kid's age. Like I had a couple friends in grade school that were like, maybe they weren't going through the newspaper every day, but it's like I had a kid who sat next to me, I think in like 4th grade, 5th grade or something like that. Every day he was drawing somebody getting horribly mutilated in his notebook, like nowadays they'd call that a warning sign. That kid would be, checked for weapons before he came into the school every day.
Probably.
But back then that was just, that was one of those boys will be boys type thing,
Well, I mean, okay, so that is the concept that is boys will be boys. That is kids will be kids. That is like, let them express themselves and stuff like that. If you catch them torturing little rabbits, then do something.
That's a whole other
just drawing, everything like that. No, creativity comes out how it comes out. Just let it be.
Right.
And I love the nanny. You need to find a new hobby.
Right, yeah.
Shalhoub, like knocking his daughter, played by Elizabeth Shannon. I'm not. What did I write
Shannon
that down?
Elizabeth.
Shannon Elizabeth. Okay.
Yeah.
I love this. Like, why don't you let Maggie cook? That's why we hired her. And she's like, have you tasted her cooking? Well, yeah, but just the one time. I thought, okay, you're right. I can see that being James Gunn all over the place.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really can. That I do have to give you that. The kid calls his sister a slut.
Yeah.
And then the mom is like, or the nanny, don't call her a slut. I prefer bitch.
Right, yeah.
I love this nanny. I mean, dude, this is all breakfast time. Did you have anything you wanted to say on that one?
Not so far, no. I mean, we're getting some good character building here. We're getting the feeling, the dynamic of the family. Shalhoub's, and especially when we follow all of that kind of like comedic banter is immediately offset when he trips on the kid's scooter and kind of like immediately melts down, like has it like there's a third time, you know. It gives us a very, very good insight into the fact that
he's doing
this
everything
is a loving,
he can to just keep it together, but he is not.
Yeah.
He is not succeeding.
Yep. This is a very loving family, but they are still very much feeling the pain of what they've been through. And he's just barely managing to hold it together for his family. And although, you know, they're living in that tiny little place now, barely getting by. He's supposed to be starting a new job, apparently. We don't ever find out exactly what happened to that, because it seems like, you know, he fucked it off on the first day. To go.
Oh no, yeah,
the
math teacher. He was saying that he's a math teacher and he can't afford to do all of these things. Yeah. Then we get J.R. Bourne, which, man, does he do a good job of playing a sleazeball every time he's cast in that role.
Oh no, that is a guy who looks like a sleazy lawyer for sure. Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, man, he ate that to pieces. But J.R. Bourne has Ben Moss to talk about the squandered family fortune, except there's a house. And I like that line from from Shannon, where she's like, we have a family fortune? Had. He squandered it.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that was like the relationship dynamics in this one. They did fantastic. And I don't know who to give credit for, but because James Gunn's name on there, I just want to scream James Gunn. But he is the final writer on this one.
Yeah, yep. But, you know, and also at the same time, you know, you got to imagine that there might have, because we've got a lot of like known powerhouses who have done comedy before. Shannon Elizabeth was in American Pie. Tony Shalhoub was in Wings. Matthew Lillard is Matthew fucking Lillard.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that one. Yeah. But you are right.
But we know that these are folks that if you say, hey, why don't you go ahead and ad-lib, you're probably going to get gold within a couple of takes from these guys. So who knows who's responsible for some of these lines.
So here's a question for you. Given what we know about technology and where it got to and potentially where it was then, do you think Cyrus was actually on webcam with that family? Because the way that he responded, actually, what, like a key? A key to what? A key to the house. He was responding like it was a video call.
You know, that didn't occur to me, but then again, at the same time, it's also not that hard to predict something like that. If you've told your lawyer, here's the script, this is what I say, and that's where you give him the key, and then I wait. So while I'm waiting a beat, a key to the house.
But at the same point, if you are that kind of person and you are that kind of control freak and you're doing all that, are you ever going to take your eyes off the situation?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Has nothing to do with the movie. It's just a random little thought that came up. And then they go, and we get to see the supernatural extremist now preparing because, I mean, yes, you have environmental activist, you have environmental extremist, you have environmental terrorist. This was like watching the supernatural activist become the extremist, and then like kind of wonder where that was going to go.
Well, yeah, because we're of the, you know, we're led to believe that she was already an activist against him capturing these ghosts, and now that her boyfriend died in the Juggernaut attack, she's been radicalized. So,
or so we think.
That's the thing, yeah. And I still like because when she does show up later in the movie and she's talking about how, I'm here to set all these ghosts free. These ghosts have already killed like 6 people that we've seen.
But the look in her eye when she's like, I must set them free. It was like, it's very much more subtle than what I just did. But, oh my God, she creeped me all the way out. But let's get there. This is what I loved. When they get to the house and Lillard is already there in a Power Man outfit and everything like that.
Power company uniform.
There you go, Power Company uniform. And he's like, yeah, we got power out in the tri-quad area. I'm like, oh my God.
Right, yeah.
I never
5,000. There's over 5,000 households without power because of whatever's happening inside this house, you know.
Which the lawyer lets him in, even though the lawyer knows that it's on its own power grid and everything like that. Like, okay, few plot holes.
A little bit, yeah.
Few, but it's still.
I mean, the fact, like he turns the key when Shalhoub puts the key in the door, turns the key, and all the lights come on and all of the, you know, and all the things start moving in the house, our first big reveal of just how freaking bizarre this house is. But at the same time, should have been like a power's out, huh? You say you're here for a power outage.
See, and the lawyer
No
wasn't
one said
looped
that.
in on what was going on, so that's where I kind of struggle with that one a little bit, but that is super nitpicking. Doesn't really matter. The key in, the pendulum swings. They see treasures from all around the world, and
Right.
Shalhoub understands that the writing on the walls of the house are in Latin, and he even speaks a little Latin. Never
Right.
explained, but his uncle is crazy into this stuff, so maybe, I don't know, family thing.
Right. Well, I mean, he is a teacher, and even though he's a math teacher, he's clearly he's an educated man. That's kind of really, you know, he's an academic of some kind, and that's pretty, you know.
Yeah, but the fact that he actually translates some Latin later that is not like e pluribus unum. Like, yes, we all know some Latin, I'll give you that. But if you
Right.
understand the eye of hell or whatever, and you translate that, you know a little more Latin than the average person. And so I think that it's probably like maybe something to do with the family.
Maybe.
Because
I suppose that's true, yeah.
I'm pretty sure like Greeks don't study Latin just for fun. Like, I don't think that's just a part of being Greek.
I mean,
But I don't
think
know.
so, but yeah. I would go with the academic route. He is an academic of some type.
There. Lillard, you crazy son of a bitch, what did you do? That first ring rotating on the floor, I loved the mechanic and the visualization of the rings rotating on the floor, how it was
Right.
given that count up, I guess.
Yep.
I really love that. Lillard heads right to the basement, and I thought that was such a great decision. Get us right into it. Not a bunch of... Every jump scare was a reveal. It was not hiding something.
Right, exactly. We're already getting into high tension because we as the audience are clued in way early on that something is off.
Mhm.
Something is weird. This is not right. It's partially has to do with because we saw what F. Murray Abraham was up at the beginning of the movie, and we're seeing Matthew Lillard's reactions to everything he's seeing so far in the house. There is a danger here. We may not know what, but there is a danger, and that just makes the family big, huge smiles on their faces, wandering blindly from room to room, that much more stressful. We don't get to share in the joy with this family. We are constantly, the happier they are, the more freaked out we get because we know that their guard is down.
That was where I was telling you, like, you need to have like your cuddle armor or something like that because the whole movie was tension. The whole, like, it was
Cuddle
it was
armor.
great.
Is that see, that's the thing is like when you first said that to me, I thought like, is this a slang that he and his wife has that he doesn't realize nobody else says?
Nope, I was
I
just
had never
making
heard
shit up.
Okay, I had never heard cuddle armor before, and I was like, what the hell?
I just messaged you something and came up with shit. I don't know. But no, like this whole movie, it was all about tension. I'm sitting here watching the movie and my stomach is going in knots. I'm feeling really unease. Like the anxiety is high. And the whole time I'm like, Doc is going to hate this.
I did. Yes. I was so upset the whole time.
But at the
Like
same
I
time,
said,
I was like,
constantly,
oh my God, it's so good the way they're doing this, the anticipation, everything I'm feeling, they are doing so well. So I was like, okay, yeah, great. And Doc's gonna hate it. Shalhoub being overprotective and the kids being kids. Lillard finds the basement cells, which we were just talking about.
right.
And he didn't expect that Cyrus kept them all, but gets blasted by a vision. And that was one of those things, like, because he went into it later. It's like, if he gets 10 feet within a ghost, he loses. He freaks out, he flips out, and he catches all of this. So him
Right.
being in the basement with all 13 or 12 of them must have been crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it just had to be. And we talked about this a little bit, but Shalhoub explains that he can't keep up, can't afford upkeep and taxes on a place like that. And then the lawyer's like, oh, don't worry, money has been taken care of. You don't have to worry about money for the rest of your life. He's not
Right.
actually British, but when you have that stiff of an upper lip, you come off British.
No, and that's the thing is like, and we don't know if that's true or not. we come to find out that this lawyer's job is to put them at a state of ease and get them in the house. That's what he's there to do. So
Yep.
tell this guy whatever he needs to hear to get him to sign the papers and stay the night in the house while the machine is running. That's his job.
Which I never like. Why did they have to kill the lawyer? I didn't really get that. That seemed really unnecessary. I mean, the lawyer could have just left.
Oh, I mean, well, because this is, like I said before, this movie has a surprisingly low body count for most movies. They needed someone to die to raise the stakes.
And
someone has to die at the very beginning.
The fact that I mean, even if he only died to set up the joke later on, oh my God, is that half the lawyer?
Well, just right off the bat, not even is that the lawyer, is that half the lawyer? She immediately identifies that there's a half of him there.
But also when they can't find him,
that's some awareness.
The exact same. Oh God, what was her name? Rio Diga, I think her name was the nanny. Did you catch her name?
I did catch her name, but it didn't stick because it was a peculiar name for that matter. I think.
Yeah, but her last name's Diga. I know that. So I'll just refer to her as Diga or Maggie. There we go.
She does kind of get a lot of the best lines.
Oh, she does. I was gonna bring that up. Like a lot of people kind of knock on the fact that black people get certain jokes in movies and everything like that. They're like, oh yeah, well you got to get the black person to say that. I'm like, they get all the best lines. Why is this a thing that we're whining? Like, I get a lot of things. The black guy dies first in the movie. Like I get where a lot of that stuff does come from. But in modern day and in the 90s, every single great line, that great comedy line that came out of a horror movie came from a black person. They got all of those great lines. And that is something that I always thought was kind of a thing.
I would say if anything, it had to deal with that the stereotypical sass that came with it. They couldn't just give her those lines; she had to be sassy with them. I think it's probably where the complaint comes from.
Like the extra stank.
Right? Yeah, she can't just be witty. She has to be witty with an accent.
Okay. I can give you that. I can give you that. Lillard puts on the special specs and sees all the terror, shows up, and this was great. This was a great moment in my mind. This was great. Immediately, Lillard cuts the bullshit, shows up, and tells everything. Doesn't try to hide it, doesn't try to survive it, doesn't try to anything like that. He shows up and just tells them almost everything, except about the fourth ghost.
Well, I don't think he knew until right after that, because it's after that first it's after that first info dump. And he starts having another seizure. Shalhoub touches him and be like, "Oh, are you okay?" And that's when his clairvoyance kicks in and he gets Shalhoub's life history. That's the moment he realizes that the fourth ghost was his wife. He didn't know up until that moment.
I don't know. Because Cyrus had the same last name as Shalhoub did in the movie. So if they were going to a hospital to collect a very particular ghost with the same last name as Cyrus, you got to imagine Lillard noticed something. Because Lillard even said that he was at that hospital. So he probably saw that family.
Maybe.
That's my guess.
Okay.
Because it
seemed to me that
really
he said he didn't know. It seemed to me he was saying, I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who. I didn't. He says,
I
when
didn't
we were there,
know you.
Okay. He said he didn't know that she was married. He said he didn't know that she had a husband or a family. He didn't know anything about her. He said.
Oh, I'm definitely going to go back and watch it again.
Okay.
Because it was good enough. And I mean, between watching it and taking the notes, I know I missed things about it. And I love this movie. It creeps me out in all the right ways. I used to hunt ghosts with your uncle. And this is a line that Tony Shalhoub. This is why you get Tony Shalhoub to deliver stuff like this. I used to hunt ghosts with your uncle. Goats?
Right.
that was perfect.
Shalhoub can deliver that line without it coming off hammy, as for sure. Yes,
that was great. And then Lillard flips and just get everybody outside. Then we get Nanny Maggie. She finds the special specs, and Shannon finds her bedroom. Which I was thinking the same thing that she was thinking. Like, I really hope the bathrooms aren't clear the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they did the bathroom to keep it glass was beautiful.
And you know, and that's the thing. Is like that's another way you kind of feel sorry for this family because at the end of the day, that was a beautiful house,
It was.
even with all of its flaws
It
and
was. And
ghosts.
I'm kind of wondering, and I should have looked this up. That looked like a real house. When they blew it up at the end,
Yeah, kind of.
that looked like a real house. So I am guessing somebody built a glass house and then thought it was going to be the fanciest thing in the world and then wound up selling it to a production to have it blown up.
I mean, that would be one way to take care of an investment.
That's one way to get your money back. Absolutely.
It'd be a tough sell because that's the thing about houses is that if when you live there long enough, you make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you need to sell it or get rid of it, you got to find someone exactly like you to appreciate it. Otherwise, they're going to go for something else that doesn't need as much fixing up.
That is fair. That is true.
That's why they talk about you can actually see it behind me. Like they're referring to this now as the real estate color. It's real estate white.
Oh, like kind of like the base, like the base setting.
Oh yeah, beige. That's right. It's real estate beige. It's the fact that no one paints their walls any color other than this, because if you have it any color than this, that reduces your likelihood of being able to sell the house when you want to.
I get that, but that's why I mean, almost every place that I've ever rented, I painted the walls at some point, and then I painted them before I left because I wanted to make it mine. If you live in a place, do your thing, whatever.
Oh, I totally agree. And I would feel that way if I were the type of person who wanted to do that much work.
I love it.
For me, it's like I'd be willing to do the decorating part. It's the undecorating part that I don't look forward to.
There is because when you're doing it, it's always fun. When you're undoing it,
Mm-hmm.
that is a chore. I do have to give you that. However, it's always great when I get to the end of doing something like that and just looking at what I did, whether it's painting it the first time or putting it back to how it was. I just love seeing the results of work. Like, that is a very enjoyable thing to me.
No, I feel you there. Yeah.
This might be my favorite line in the movie. I'm getting my ass out of the big glass house. How Lillard delivered that was absolutely perfect.
Yes.
Hands down. I mean, Lillard was just perfect in this movie. I don't think he had a moment that was not dynamite.
We're sitting here talking about the glass house. We're absolutely skipping over Shalhoub's great delivery as they're walking in the house and says to the family, okay, I suppose it goes without saying, but nobody is allowed to throw any stones.
Oh.
That's
the thing the line that I liked was nobody can break anything until we have insurance. He's like, once we get paid for you breaking it, then we're good to go. That's right. That was the dad moment for me. I was like, okay, I really did like this.
Tony Shalhoub he plays a good dad. He doesn't get to play dad often enough.
And now they have him playing, just kind of, now he's back to just kooky. No, not back to. He's been playing kooky characters his entire career.
Right.
But I do agree with you. He didn't really get enough of the dad role. But he was amazing in Monk. I kind of want to go back and just watch Monk again. It's been forever.
Monk is one of those shows. Yeah, Monk is one of those shows where even if the show in its entirety is kind of cookie cutter and not great, if you get a good character played by a good actor in there, it's worth your time.
Agreed.
You know, just to see their performance. And Tony Shalhoub is that for Monk.
Agreed.
Another good example is Blacklist. Blacklist, by far and away one of the worst shows on TV, except for the fact that
James Spader.
Thank you, James Spader. James Spader fucking owns every second that he's on screen, like king of the world. Like that show is worth watching just for him.
I will agree.
Even though everything else about it stinks.
I watched many seasons of that, and it was hard to get through, but you're right. Every time James Spader shows up, and he's one of those actors that, one, talented, two, very lucky.
Yeah.
You know he has photographic memory?
I did not know that. No.
When you
that
go-
explains so much.
Oh yeah, when you go back and watch some of his scenes and you just kind of see him kind of like looking past the actor, not looking at the actor, looking past the actor and just delivering this full monologue, James Spader is just reading the freaking page.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Come on. I mean, yes, you can't you like just having that ability does not mean you have that level of talent. But I mean, wow, does that really give
But
you a
it doesn't
leg up?
hurt. Sure.
Man.
Absolutely. 100%.
The suit kicks on the special specs and heads downstairs. Grab the bait and then begins the lockdown. So his whole suitcase full of money, he picks that off the ground, and that is what actually begins. All the things getting
it's got
released.
A weighted trigger. And that's the question. Was that the determinative part where that was a trap set for him? You know, your money's in the basement. And
that's
so
why I'm calling it potentially a plot hole. Why was he targeted? That's what I didn't get. Everybody else I understood. But why him?
Okay.
There was a purpose behind every targeted death in this movie, except his.
If I were to guess, and that's the question. Like, was he supposed to do that, or was somebody else? But he knew about it. Maybe he was supposed to tell Shalhoub, "Oh yeah, don't worry about the taxes. There's a bag of cash downstairs. That'll cover everything." But instead he went.
You think he stole the money, thinking that it was supposed to go to the family?
Exactly. Like while Lillard is having his meltdown and Shalhoub is like, "Are you okay?" That's when the lawyer sneaks out and goes and grabs the bag of cash.
Okay, I can get on board with that, because then you have greed being the sin that takes you all the way into that classic horror movie trope. Okay, I can get on board with that.
They don't say outright how it goes, but that was my take on that, because especially the way he's.
But it makes sense.
Yeah, and he's really doing that smarmy grin when he's looking at the money, going like, not a bad per hour, you know, like he's really rubbing it into whoever's there to hear him.
I definitely am going to give you that. Now we get into my real notes here. The house transforms and we unleash the angry princess, played by Shauna Lawyer. This is her only credit.
Oh, really?
One.
Oh, that poor girl. Wow. What else is she just like a model, or what else has she done? Outside of movies?
She hits like she got a cult following because of this one role, and she has made a living off of it.
Okay. Well, good for her.
Which,
not bad if you
the way the lawyer says that is he looks at her and says, got a bad agent or whatever, like that was.
Bad representation.
Bad representation. And like she spends this whole movie naked, and that's her only credit. So potentially she did have some pretty rocky representation, and maybe that's not the kind of actor she wanted to be.
Maybe, yeah. But if she didn't really need the work after that, because she got, she now lives off the convention circuit. Hey, lemon's lemonade, as they say.
The lawyer gets the glass door treatment. And oh my God, the way he slid off that, I thought that was fantastic.
Oh,
and the fact the nanny says, "What, did the lawyer split?" Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for that line. That was so good. I had a lot of fun with
that whole scene, it reminded me, I can't remember which one of these came first. I think this one might have been first, but it reminded me of the scene from Ghost Ship. When
oh my God, Doc, way to run into this. The director of this movie has only one other directing credit, and it's Ghost Ship.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
That whole because they did the same on Ghost Ship, same thing. Like a cable snaps and spins through an entire dance company and kills everybody all at once. And it was the same thing where it was like the glasses fell, and his necktie comes off. And then Ghost Ship is the same thing. It's like,
Ship.
I can't get away from this shit no matter how hard I try, man. I keep dating chicks who love this shit.
You have a type. That is true. I have met multiple women that you have dated, and you do have a type. I do absolutely have to get. What was that? I want to call her Lilith. Come on. A woman that you dated, like, I think that's her name. Come on.
Nope, not ringing
Black
any bells.
gowns. She's a burlesque dancer.
Oh, Rue? Are you
Thank
talking about Rue?
Rue.
Okay.
Yes. Rue.
Oh God, yeah, she was the worst. I don't think she saw anything but horror movies.
And I didn't even know that about her. I'm just saying, the women that you have introduced me to, they got a vibe.
Yeah.
But then at this point, we get our first look. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, it's kind of understanding. Like I've mentioned before, my first Hollywood crush was Christina Ricci.
Oh, yeah, right.
So, you know, a neuron got switched in the brain, and that's where I'm stuck at. So.
Well, one of my earliest mega crushes was Sidney Prescott. Which, because it's Halloween, because we've been talking so much about Wes Craven and all this, I didn't even mean to do this. I watched all the Scream movies in one day. I did not mean to.
That's a lot.
I just sat down
lot.
and I was like, man, I haven't seen Scream in so long. Sat down, watched. I was like, God, that's good. Then I had to watch the second one. I'm like, man, this cast is star-studded.
Sydney was a solid character for a final girl in multiple times over, for sure. I'll give you that. I think that was one of the things that really sold Scream to a lot of folks, was how Sydney broke the mold as far as that character went.
Oh, very much. And now that Wes Craven has died, she said that she's kind of done with the Scream movies, but she did come back, and she was in the first one that that they made after Wes Craven died, because the two directors for Scream 4. Yeah. The two directors for that one, they like reached out to her and they talked about how much they admired Wes Craven, how he's the reason that they became directors, all this. They had to convince her, and then once they did, she was in. By the way, Scream 3, not great. Scream 4, amazing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Hands down.
Okay.
I gotta give it that praise. But then we get our first look at the Torn Prince, played by Craig Olejnik. There's no way I'm saying that right, but I gave it my best. The angry princess admiring herself in the mirror next to Shannon? Nope. But also, I don't think I've ever seen that happen like that.
That was pretty, because the glasses that you see the ghosts are sitting there on the shelf, and we kind of camera through them to let us know we're going into this sort of spectral vision, and we see now it's still Shannon Elizabeth doing her thing in front of the mirror, except now the walls are fucking covered in blood, and the psycho girl with the knife is standing behind her, fixing her hair the same way that Shannon Elizabeth is fixing her hair. I genuinely thought we were going to get a possession story here, the way this was going on. But
because I knew that wasn't what was there, I was fearful of so many other things, but it was just how creepy that was, how well she did on that. I understand why she got a cult following after this movie.
And her voice whispering, "I'm sorry," as she's doing that.
Did you notice the floor?
Yeah, when that came, that's the thing, is like, and even it made the floor hit harder, because while she's sitting there doing the hair fixing thing, you hear her whisper, "I'm sorry." Like, you're sitting, like, that's where you're sitting there going like, oh Jesus, like this is going to go very, very badly. And then we pan to another shot. Now she's in the bathtub, and we're seeing her in the bathtub from above, and "I'm sorry" is written in blood on the floor. And I'm like, oh God, what is she going to do to this poor girl?
Amazing. I loved it so much. That my next two notes right there. Bobby gets lured and warned to the basement. He's like, "Bobby, come down here." And then you hear his mom saying, "Bob, don't come down here." But then, of course, you hear your dead mom. You're going to go. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah.
Like, you're a kid. You're a little kid. Your mom died 6 months before that. You're hearing her voice telling you to go away. No, there's a part in your brain that's going to go, "Mommy?"
No. It's
like,
yeah, exactly. Here, it's like it. Plus, even if her mom was still alive and she said, "Don't go down there," he'd still go down there.
Probably, but I like the fact that he stops at the bottom stair and goes, "I'm gonna tell Dad."
Right? Yeah.
That was a great moment. And then we talked earlier about how Lillard is shaggy in this. Well, Lillard is
Right.
completely drugged out and does not want to join this search party. Got to agree with him. More switches flipping, more ghosts unleashed, and Bobby just keeps going right towards it. Ooh.
Mm.
I'm telling you, man, I got so nervous in this. I got so wrapped up in it. I loved it.
Well, and like I said, like they just got done, like I said, raising the stakes by horribly killing the lawyer, cutting him in half with these like shatterproof, which I don't think even fire doors close that fast. Like, holy shit! That
No, actually, fire doors close pretty slow.
Okay, so yeah, there you go. Like that's kind of one of those like, yeah, that was a death trap of a door for sure. But yeah, so again, weirdly enough, with such a low body count, you're still stressed out because one person dies. It takes another 30 minutes for the next person to die, but you are freaking out that whole 30 minutes because you're still thinking about how the first guy died.
Well-made movie. That's why you're freaking out. Well made. And that's why, I mean, yeah, the first, we've covered a few movies that it was their first time directing and they didn't go on to do much afterwards. And like Jeff Probst making, when his first time, his directorial debut was Finder's Fee. And I didn't even see the second movie that he did, but Finder's Fee is absolutely incredible.
Sure, yeah.
Like,
yep.
No, it's kind of crazy how that happens. So Lillard is explaining that the writing on the walls are spells, and the bound woman played by Laura Manel freaks Bobby into running into the torso played by Daniel Wesley. The world building in this I really, really loved. And then everybody's like going to go search for Bobby, and then they're going downstairs like, whoa, 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 whoa. Did I say there's a petting zoo downstairs? Lillard, just Lillard. I mean, what can you really say about him that hasn't been said?
I mean, yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't know. Like he's beloved for a reason, and I get like don't understand why Hollywood doesn't like him as much as they used to.
I don't think that's the case. I think
Hmm?
he likes doing just what he likes doing.
You think?
He took time off from making movies to go teach a class up in Vancouver.
Oh.
Like not at like UCLA or any of these top schools. Like, no, he went up to Vancouver for Vancouver Film School and he taught a class up there. He's a pretty awesome guy.
Okay.
I tried to get in on the class, but couldn't get into Canada.
I imagine that that was a class that filled up pretty fast.
I'm guessing so. I'm guessing, yeah. But like I said, warnings and instructions come from Bobby's speaker, and we see the mom. And oh god, that hurt. Maggie sees a ghost, the Hammer, played by Herbert Duncanson. And when Lillard flips him the bird and then sees his own future, and the look on Lillard's face as he's walking away from that moment, I loved it. Like, boof. I can't really fully explain how incredible I think so many of the small moments in this movie is. Which is why I was really excited for Halloween to come around so we could cover some of these movies. There's a time.
Sure.
Shalhoub finds the recorder and then gets uber nervous hearing a scream. Because he backs it up until he can hear some voices on the recorder, presses play, hears that scream, and he shuts it off immediately because he's terrified that he just heard his child's dying scream.
Right, yeah.
And Shalhoub sold it.
Yeah, he did. And I remember personally, and that was kind of one of those and I know this is a common thing, when watching horror movies, when you're like shouting at the characters, like, don't be stupid. Don't go in there, For me, I'm like, no, keep playing the tape, because maybe if you hear your dead wife's voice in the tape, that'll get you clued in as to what's going on here, pal. You're like,
you react how you react. I mean, The characters don't react like they're in movies most of the time. They react like they're...
No, that is...
You know?
That is true.
I mean, in a lot of horror movies, they do act like they're in movies. That is the frustrating part for bad horror movies.
Right. Well, especially like speaking of like moments before that, like how, like just before he gets to the tape recorder, we have the, the house is too big, let's all split up moment. And Matthew Lillard going like, are you fucking nuts?
And I love that. It's like,
but they do it. They do it anyway. They split up anyway because he's like, no, we got to cover ground quickly.
But
so you go this way and we'll go this way.
When they split up in this movie, they all make it back.
No, that's true. Yes.
Like,
so at least
when you
they
think
go
somebody's going to die,
way, yeah.
they don't die. They die when you think they're not going to. This movie did a really good job of like, it shocked me. Misdirect. Thank you. I couldn't find the word. Lillard mentions the Jackal, played by Shane Weiler, and then Shannon gets attacked by him. And the scene with Shannon getting attacked by the Jackal, I felt that. I really did. And the way that the flare comes off and it disappears and how she slams down to the ground, that they soften that up a lot of times and they cut away from it. They like, oh God, we all just kind of fell into each other. They don't let it go that far most of the time. I really appreciated the fact that they did. So like I said, rescued by the activists, and Lillard runs to the firstborn son, played by Mokae Spidell. That's a fun name, by the way.
Yeah.
And then he just goes, ow.
Right.
and the nanny is like, are you making fun of him? But then Shalhoub gets the glasses and sees the Jackal, and Davidtz says that she's going to free them and looks wildly euphoric when she says that. Mm-hmm. That look made me uncomfortable. I'm like, was that bad acting or was that what was that?
Well, and that's where I'm sitting here going like, why doesn't anyone bring up set them free? Are you out of your fucking mind? We're gonna let these monsters loose on the world? No, we banish them to hell. We keep them locked up until we can call in the priests or something. Like we don't like.
Yeah, nobody steps up to try to stop her on that one, and I thought that was kind of weird too. Like,
right, yeah. It's like, look, I'm all for...
My family was just attacked and you want to let it go? What if it decides to attack my family again? That should have been the thing that came out of his mouth and it never did.
Well, it's like, you hear about these people keeping pet tigers in New York City and it's like, no, you shouldn't do that. That's fucked up. You do not let the tiger loose in Manhattan. Go be free, my brother. Like, that's not how you do that.
Okay, I do see where you're coming from with that. Okay, we get the exposition on the house and that it was designed while a guy was possessed. And then Cathy goes missing.
Right.
Okay. And
we don't really get an explanation as to how that's done. We get kind of clue-ins as to who's responsible, but we don't get how. They just sort of vanish.
Thank you.
But I guess that's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's not important. All that's important is that it happened. That you don't need to know why.
Fair enough. And then the house goes into full armored lockdown. Lillard sacrifices the glasses, and then, I like when he looks at Maggie. Good job. Just how casual, everything. I loved it. But then they need to get to the library because that's the area of the house that has the full spell protection. And okay. That makes sense. I mean, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
Why not? Lillard and Diga meet the Great Child, played by C. Ernst Harth, and the Dire Mother, played by Laurie Soper. Oh my God, those two were the most disturbing ghosts.
That's what I was going to say. I think those two were the ones that freaked me the fuck out the most. Like that was an uncool imagery right there of those two together. That
that told a whole like that insinuated a massive story that I do want to watch that movie, but at the same time, it's because I don't want to know that story.
Right. Yes.
No, absolutely.
Of all these ghosts, I imagine their backstory is the worst for sure.
So then we get, I don't know, man. I'm curious about the Jackal with that cage over his head.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And the Pilgrimess. And she's locked in those shackles too.
Oh well, that one's kind of. I mean, that she was clearly burned as a witch. That one
I know, but the thing that I'm saying is like this movie did a fantastic job of making me want 10 more movies. Every single
Which they
go ahead.
I feel like they probably had in mind when you consider how this ended. They probably thought they had a franchise on their hands here.
Potentially. I mean, this was remade after the original movie came out like 50 years before. Like, which I want to see the original. I want to know how they did their version, like way back then, like before all the film tricks, before the technology, before everything. I do want to see what this was.
It was like 1960 when that came out, right?
I think so.
That first one came. Yeah.
Somewhere right around there.
They would have. Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to read the book too. Because, I mean, yeah, like the stuff that I write now, I have a lot of things that have come to mind from other things that I have already seen. I want to know what these guys did just as originals.
Sure, yeah.
As the progenitors of what we got. I think that would like... And I wanted to do the same with The Bone Collector until I realized how recent of a book that was. And I'm like, I can get to that whenever. Lillard asked him, how do you lose an entire family in a glass house? And the look from Shalhoub.
Yeah, like, not now, motherfucker. Not now.
If you could bleed from being looked at, Shalhoub has that power.
Right.
And then we get chased by the Pilgrimess, which, good chase, played by Xantha Radley, and the exposition in the library about stealing souls, and we find out about the fourth ghost. Arthur's wife, the withered lover, played by Katherine Anderson. What a heartbreaking revelation.
Yeah. And kind of, it's interesting too, because of the 12 ghosts that we see, she's the least fucked up looking one.
No, she's only been dead for 6 months.
True, yeah. And she's got the burns, but generally speaking, like out of all of them, like, yeah, you don't get as much of a monster vibe off her like you do with the others. Like, so it is kind of interesting,
like, if
how
you go with like supernatural rules, you're not a crazy ghost right away. It takes time.
No, it's a good point. Yeah.
So if you and like, I mean, the mechanic of a ghost like coming mad over time, that's not just supernatural. Right. That's I feel like that's pretty standard ghost lore.
Yeah. The visuals of them being a reflection of their mental state kind of thing, that it deteriorates over time, for sure. Yeah, that's pretty standard lore.
I forgot I had this note in here. Trying to control the ocularis, which, if you hear the description of the ocularis, the eye of hell, that is the eye of Sauron. There's no way that didn't come into your mind as they were talking about that.
It actually did not, now that you mention it. But now that you... No, seriously.
I'm such a Lord of the Rings nerd.
Now that you've said it, now that you've said it, it's pretty obvious. I'm like, oh, yeah, I should have clued into that. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Shalhoub finds out that he is supposed to be the 13th ghost, a willing spirit of love. And then we get that moment where Lillard is like, wait, this doesn't add up. Something is wrong here, everything like that. And I really appreciated that, because Lillard was our good guy.
Right.
He wasn't
the best guy.
There was some borderline stuff because he was doing like a job at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
But he brings up a good point. I step within 10 feet of a ghost, I lose my mind. I touch somebody, I see their entire lives, and I have like a conniption fit. He's like, I'm a little bit of a freak. I needed money so I could live. It's like,
right.
Yeah. Okay. I do empathize with him way more than I was expecting to, but yeah. When he says it doesn't add up, the look on David's face, like she's like you see that panic. And that was where I was like, okay, because I forgot.
And it's interesting.
It had been so long.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting too, because there were other, like, that's not the first clue that Lillard gets that something's off. Earlier in the movie, when everyone's got their own set of glasses, the nanny notices that there's more Latin written on the floor that you can't see until you put the glasses on. And he makes a comment about how, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, there's a few things in there where we don't get the why, we don't get the explanation, but Lillard, being the sort of pseudo expert here, keeps going, well, it doesn't make sense that it's like that. And even though the mystery of these individual things don't really get solved, it's enough to clue in Shalhoub to understand that nothing is as straightforward, and it puts him in the mindset to figure things out later. Even though if we don't get all the answers, it's enough for him to know that he can't just walk right into whatever he's been told.
Fair enough. Okay, that is a good call.
Yeah.
I enjoyed using a chunk of the wall as a shield to go find the kids.
Clever.
Lillard calling Shalhoub Captain America. Funny. Enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Then Lillard, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. Like, going over doing that. And, we already talked about this. Oh my God, is that half the lawyer? What a line. What a freaking, oh my God, I love that too much. Then the torn prince versus the shield wall. And then, yes, that look from Davidtz was foreshadowing, because Cyrus, you sneaky little turd bucket. This is literally how I wrote my notes. Everything I just said is word for word. This was me. I was having fun watching this. But then he freaks because gets that book from her, and they have this whole exchange. Like, I did everything you wanted me to. I did. Are you mad at me? And he gets back and he can't find the spells. He's like, where are they? And like, are you mad at me? No.
Right.
Man, that was a crazy one. And yeah, I didn't get a lot of time to really fall in love with any of these characters, so you kind of got to give the movie that. It didn't really build up a lot of that. So when Lillard was caught between the Juggernaut and the hammer, there was no emotional connection to that. It was cool, it was visually stunning, all that, but the emotional connection wasn't really in this movie.
We didn't really get a lot of emotional connection. We got just enough to, like, we know just enough about the kids to maybe not be like, I don't want the kid to die, but enough to be like, oh, don't kill the kid. Like,
pretty much. Pretty much.
And that's basically where we are on everybody.
I think this movie could have used another hour.
Maybe it could have used a couple more characters to kill off. But
to up
I mean,
the stakes.
I think it did
okay.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it
maybe
towed
two
the
more
line
kids,
pretty carefully.
an extra cousin.
Yeah. A wacky neighbor that happened to tag along, something. A paralegal. Two lawyers. Let's kill off both lawyers.
Well,
Why not?
We brought a nanny into the story, presumably to redshirt her, but we didn't.
Right. That's the thing. And why is she even a family that is? We are being made very, very aware of how fucking broke they are, but they can afford a nanny, and not even a very good one, sure, but it's...
One thing I did key in on, since I've been living in the city, after I moved out from the country into the city, a lot of people have nannies they do not pay. They just live there rent-free, and that's how they get paid.
That makes sense. And I can see that, if not for the fact that Shalhoub has like two separate lines where he comments how much he's paying her. He says, that's what we pay you for.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was okay. All right. Fair enough. I don't know how much math teachers get paid in New York. I didn't think it was that much.
And maybe it's a combo thing. Maybe she gets the free rent plus like maybe $50 a week or something like that.
Maybe
a per diem.
But that is the thing. Like, I actually did meet people who offered. Like, they're like, hey, I'll clean your place, everything like that. I know, like, you have an extra room. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of want somebody to pay rent in that room. But so
right.
that is a thing that I did come across. Thought about it. I don't like cleaning. So, okay. David's hesitation to put the kids in danger always breaks a good villain for me. You're going to kill all these people. You're going to end the world. You're going to do all this. But they're kids. Like, dude, come on. You are like, you're doing all this stuff. All these kids are going to go out there, but you're having a problem literally because you can see them. That is always a thing that breaks villains for me.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make sense.
But also at the same time is interestingly, oddly enough, it's interestingly realistic. Because there are folks that can rationalize their way through quite a lot of shit until you get to one weird line that you didn't even realize they could have.
Yeah, I guess everybody does have their line.
I've seen it happen. Yeah. and it is interesting that that was like, and that was it for her, but I suppose that it had to be somewhere.
I mean, and that was the thing, like, you had to create some sort of friction between her and Cyrus for that. Okay, but at the same time, you didn't need it.
No,
you could have you could have kept her just really being a good bad guy.
Yeah, because especially yes, he does off her, supposedly because of this, but we didn't need that. We've already well established that this guy offs people without a thought. He didn't need a motivation to kill her other than I'm done with you now. You've served your purpose.
Yeah, so that's where I was saying, like, I felt like you kind of lost a little bit of the.
But I suppose maybe the filmmakers wanted us to feel bad about her dying because she wasn't that much of a bad guy.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Did you?
I mean, it was like everything else in the movie, it was a pretty horrible way to die. Had me going, like.
Okay,
but other than
there's
that.
Yeah. But I thought she had it coming. I didn't think that there was any redemption. I didn't think there was no. If hesitation was not enough of a redemption to make me care about that character.
No, that's true.
I think they should have done more, or they should not have done it. That middle ground, it never lands for me.
Yeah, she protests gently and then shuts down quickly and goes along with it. So yeah, it doesn't count as a redemption for sure.
Cyrus kicks on the spell recording and all of the ghosts assemble, except Shalhoub's wife stays behind a second so he can see her and then break down crying again. Ooh, I felt that. Like what he had been through in this movie, I felt for, nobody else.
Yeah.
Should have felt for the kids, but I didn't see them enough.
No, it's true, yeah.
That's why I said, like, maybe if this movie could have used another hour. Like,
well, and that, as like maybe not even if it wasn't the franchise. Like I said, they ended it. It felt like a franchise. There were a lot of moments when I felt like this movie would have been better served as a TV series, as a limited series. But back then when it came out, it was like what, 2000, 2004, 2005?
No, earlier than that. I think it was 2000, 2001.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
should have looked. I mean, definitely should have.
Streaming services hadn't even started yet, so like these kind of
I mean, they remade this once already. There's no reason why they can't remake it again as a series, and I think that may be the good call, because I would enjoy an entire series of meeting all of these ghosts and then getting to here.
Right, yeah, that probably would be pretty interesting.
I would enjoy that.
More character development and make us care more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, and care about the ghosts too.
Yeah.
Because we only cared about one ghost, kind of. If you cared, you only cared about one.
Right. But yeah, for sure, we are clued in that every single one of these ghosts are the way they are because their life was tortured in some way.
Yes. And then we get the kids in the center of the rings, and Shalhoub sees Cyrus staring him down, and then he counts out all the 12 and realizes that Cyrus should not be there.
Right.
But because of where he was off on the side, I thought I was really waiting for this. And every time I see the movie, I know I'm waiting for it all over again. Because he has that line of his glasses where you can kind of see his eye a little bit right here. I thought he would be turning and the frame of the lens would end and he would still see his body outside the frame, and then that would key him in. That is what I'm always waiting for when it comes to like characters wearing glasses, and that is the reveal. Because whenever I'm wearing glasses, I see crap on all the time. So the fact that no movie ever has done that drives me insane.
Yeah, I feel you there. Yep. But no, like I said, that they had already kind of like established, like I said, with all the times Lillard says that's not right. That's weird. Why would that be? Like, that's what got Shalhoub clued into like, wait, look for something that's not right, kind of thing. And yeah, he stops, counts 12 ghosts. That ghost of my dead uncle shouldn't be there. Take the glasses off. He's still there. And his transition, I gotta say, was fantastic. He wasn't like shocked, like, oh, you're still alive. No, he immediately goes to, you son of a bitch, and barrels
but also
right at
Cyrus's fear when Shalhoub lowers those glasses.
Right.
Very subtle. He didn't do that too much. He didn't overact that. He kept his composure, like, oh, maybe he won't, maybe
Yeah.
Oh, I
Like the
love
way, like,
that.
uh-oh.
But then Cyrus starts winning the fight and then mocks his pathetic family. And then Diga to the
Typical
rescue.
rich guy shit. Typical rich guy shit. You know,
Sure.
like you peasant, how dare you?
Oh yeah, with the cane and everything. Wearing
Yeah,
an
no,
ascot and full Scooby Doo.
that's a straight up Ebenezer Scrooge moment right there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But then Diga mixes and the ghosts go for the PG kill. Which, in a movie like this, why did Cyrus's body not have a single drop of blood in it?
That's what I was, because they all 12 of them pick him up, crowd surf him towards the thing. Like, that should have been like with all of the other gruesome deaths we should have seen, that should have been the most gruesome, and it was nothing.
It was PG.
Like
there
that,
was not a single drop of blood at all.
Yeah.
But then Lillard makes a return and Shalhoub makes that like video game timing leap. I had fun with
He's
that.
playing Prince of Persia. Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. House goes boom. Ghosts escape. We get that last look at the mom and the nanny. I love the way the movie ends. I quit. Like, no, her lines. I can see her character being added by James Gunn, and just
absolutely.
Yeah,
you know what? The one thing that pissed me off after that, like I loved that we go back to the basement. We see after all of that chaos, the nanny's okay, and she's like, "I quit this. You know, fuck this family." What would have really made it the perfect payoff for me is if she found the briefcase full of money at that moment.
Oh, that would have been a good one. That's right. We don't know what happened with that money.
That money is still sitting there at the end of the movie, and yeah, we don't know if anybody sifted through it. Did the fire marshal come through and went, "Oh, my retirement fund"? Like, we don't know what happened to the money. It was still laying right.
The family should have got that money. The family should have found that at the end. That would have made it a nice little happy ending. All right.
But yeah, and then we also see after the whole thing's over, house blows up and the machine's dead. We see the 11 psycho ghosts wander off into the world, fading away, off to kill again.
And this is a good ending? This is a happy ending? Right. No, we just unleashed evil, like this hardcore rough onto the world. Oh man, this movie,
which is why
some moments.
Which is why I say, you know, maybe they thought they had a franchise here. They were gonna do 11 sequels where they hunt down each one of these ghosts in turn, you know, or something like that.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah, I you know, if I was a production company, I'd be down for that for sure, you know.
Oh, heavily. No, the fact that Bezos hasn't picked up the 13 Ghosts and put it on Amazon Prime yet, or something horror like
I mean, really you take a look at what Peter Jackson basically spent 10 years of his life making a living on the Lord of the Rings. I could see myself making a living on 13 Ghosts for 10, 20 years.
You think you could work on a horror movie?
I've worked on horror movies before. I don't like watching them. Making them is fun though.
Okay, that is fine. That is fair.
You've been in a horror movie with me.
I know. I just realized that as I was saying that. I know. All right, so final thoughts on the 13 Ghosts.
Final thoughts on 13. I mean, if you're a horror fan, you're going to like it. I'm going to try to forget it as quickly as possible.
But even though you're not a horror fan, you gotta give it its props.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, visually stunning, very clever in its world building. Yeah, like I said, like I like there was so much great visuals in this. I feel like this was a debt paid to a visual artist, like a Tarantino style, because like they gave these people they gave their art department an unlimited budget and free reign, and it fucking paid off. Yeah. So in that regard, sure, this was really great. Would I say that it is a must-see film? No, I don't think.
I wouldn't even put this as a must-see for horror film enthusiasts. No, there's nothing game-changing. There's nothing groundbreaking or anything like that. It's just really well done. Yes, for sure. It's a really, really good example of its genre. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a going down in history type movie. No, but I do still want to check the original to see if that one is a must-see.
Yeah. I have just realized the massive mistake that I had made. with this costume, and I did not grab a martini glass for my drink. I just grabbed a regular tumbler.
Who are you supposed to be?
Correct. Oh, I'm a middle-aged divorced dad tourist, obviously.
Why don't you just have a can of shaving cream? Shove a pillow up there. Shove a pillow up there and grab a can of shaving cream.
I'm going to need you to explain that reference to me. I don't get it.
Jurassic Park.
Are you saying that I look like Nedry? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying everybody in a Hawaiian shirt looks like Nedry. That's why I say, grab a couple pillows, shove it up there, be Nedry. Okay, all right, fine.
Wasting away in Margaritaville over here, man. That's what I'm doing. See, I'm got myself a tall glass of lemonade that really should be in a margarita glass to sell it, you know?
I'm actually going to agree with you there. I do think that would have been the right call.
I made a huge mistake, but the kitchen is all the way over there, and I'm already back on camera, so, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Going in for part 2 of the special Halloween episode, The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Serpent and the Rainbow. Serpent and the Rainbow was probably something of an origin story for me because, like, you know, like I said earlier, the only reason I do as much of these horror movies is because I'm constantly surrounded by people who love them. When it comes to the early 80s, or not early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, that is my stepsister and her friend that I had a crush on. And so when they were watching horror movies, I would take that bullet, watch it with them just so that I could be near her. We'll call her Jody because it's been 25 years and I don't remember what her actual name is.
Fair. Fair.
But yeah, Serpent and the Rainbow was one where you know how when you're watching scary movies with chicks, they get kind of grabby?
Mm-hmm.
Serpent and the Rainbow was a night that built some new neurons for me, so it stuck.
Okay, fair enough. So The Serpent and the Rainbow, based on the book by Wade Davis, screenplay by Richard Maxwell and Adam Rodman, directed by Wes Craven, rest in peace, you absolute legend, starring Bill Pullman, Cathy Tyson, Zakes Mokae, Paul Winfield, Brent Jennings, and Conrad Roberts. This movie isn't really with anybody. I'm pretty sure it's starring everybody that's in it.
No, yeah. Everybody in this movie steals the show. Even like we've got a couple of characters that you think are throwaway characters, then they're really not.
No, oh my god! And so to kick it off, this is based on true events. And
loosely. I did like, that was one of the things that gave me a giggle at the beginning. It was during the credits when it said it was inspired by the book Serpent and the Rainbow. Because the book was about true events. This movie took it quickly into supernatural land. So it was inspired by, not based on.
Well, it was it's based on the experiences of the guy who wrote the book. So kind of interesting when you get into that, because when you talk to people who have like really tripped on these intense kind of drugs that come up in this movie, you can kind of see this movie as also being part of that trip. So you could see it as a total true story.
In a way.
Sure. There are moments.
Told from a certain perspective, for sure, yeah.
Yes.
The way I kind of saw it was, it kind of reminded me of like the old kung fu movies, because like when you take a look at real life martial artists, they can do some pretty amazing shit. They can run straight up a wall because they've been practicing the perfect way to do that for years. In kung fu movies, they take that into a tiny little fantastical step where not only can they run straight up walls, they can also run across the tops of treetops. They're such kung fu masters. They have that kind of balance. I feel like this is the same thing.
So embellishing.
This was something that kind of, exactly, yes. It's taking this sort of like general sense of mysticism and turning it into actual magic in this movie.
Okay, I'll give you that.
And yeah,
that I'll give you. The movie opens on this little poem saying, it opens on this. In the legends of voodoo, the serpent is a symbol of earth. The rainbow is a symbol of heaven. Between the two, all creatures must live and die. But because he has a soul, man can be trapped in a terrible place, where death is only the beginning. Do you know where that's from?
I assumed it was from the book this was based on.
That's a good that's a good guess, actually. All right, so the movie opens on Haiti in 1978, and oh my God, so many Cravenisms in this. And like I said, because of my marathon of the Scream movies that I did this week,
right,
they were all right screaming me in the face. The use of the music, the cinematography,
right.
as they pick up the coffin and it's being, I think, polished. Like they just constructed it and they were just kind of cleaning it and polishing it for the procession that's about to happen.
Putting the finish on it kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought so. And we get that funeral procession with the pistol and they set the coffin aflame. Seriously, what an opening.
Mm-hmm.
No,
yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Going through some series of things, testing, I don't know what this was, but oh my God, why did they have to stab that guy under the eye?
Well, I mean, if you're not dead, then you should, that should get something, a twitch like that. Like, I feel like if that's kind of thing, like, are you faking it or are you just asleep? Like, I feel like putting a needle through the eyelid into the eye, that would wake you up for sure.
That's a good test to find out if you're faking. Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah. I still hated it.
No, yeah. And I think, add that too. It was definitely more disturbing than if they just like pricked his toe or something like that. Okay.
So we got a few viewers. I wanna bring this up right now. So
okay.
The concept of this movie is about zombification and the real world applications on what happens with this. So this movie is all about the mysticism about it, about voodoo, about all of that. In the real world, what would happen is they would drug people, have them be buried and have their funerals. Then they would go back after the funeral, dig them back up and force them into slavery because the drugs would remove parts of their memories.
Well, I mean, so the theory is that it wasn't that the drug was removing their memories. It was that it was the oxygen deprivation is what would happen. They would get brain damage from when they would be buried for so long. It would take like, a day or so for them to come get dug up.
There is that. But there's also what we were talking about earlier with the tetrodotoxin that comes off of pufferfish and the datura powder that they got from the datura plant, which is known as the devil's cucumber. Those two mixtures, the hallucinogenic aspects of those things, the brain damage that would have, the effects that it has on your body, those drugs, even outside of being buried and the oxygen deprivation that would happen with that, those have that effect on their own.
Right.
Like, and so they would they would convince people that they were dead, and then they would steal dead people for slavery.
Yeah.
That way they could get away and nobody would be reported. Like, this is unbelievably terrifying in the real world.
And apparently they even would tell these people when they dug them up, they would say, "You're dead. You're just now in hell," basically. And
basically hypnotism, like very, very influential in those moments. My God. I mean,
and and it's not, the
real world connection to this makes it so unbelievably terrifying.
I know. And I did a school report on it not too long.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can get not on this specifically, but I touched on it. It was for my Shakespeare class, and we were doing Romeo and Juliet, and so I decided to, for my final report, I decided to delve in onto the stuff that Juliet takes to make herself appear dead, and basically research the same thing.
Oh, I could see that. I could. Okay.
And that's the thing, is like, this has been going on for so long. Like, that was the theory that I postulated in my class, was that because we know that Shakespeare's like favorite actors were all sailors, they probably had been to other parts, to places like, South America and Haiti where, or something like that, where this was done, or at least heard the rumors of it and then brought it back for Shakespeare because, to write about, was my theory.
The Amazon basin in 1985.
Yeah, no, wait, sorry.
Wait,
I just
what?
remembered. Shakespeare was in the 1600s. We discovered America in the 1400s.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we did have America for at least 100 years before then. So
we had colonies and trade going on for sure. Yeah. So we probably did have a trade route to South America and Haiti. And yeah, the sailors would be coming back with stories and stuff like that. Yeah. And because this was going on even back then, this was going on for so long that, it's generally accepted, that our entire concept of zombies originated there because of that practice.
Vampires. Vampires predate that though. And vampires and the similarities between vampire, like the raising dead, that has to predate. I mean, those legends, so many of those. I'm going to look into that because that kind of stuff goes into Esmeralda's story. Another book I'm working on. Not saying what he said, but the pilot is nervous and the shaman senses it too. He gets handed some trippin' juice. All right. And then sees himself being chased by a friendly jaguar. And you got it. I was getting a lot of enjoyment out of this. The white dude tripping and the locals sitting there laughing until the wind kicks up.
Right, yeah. He's sitting there playing around, his vision is he's getting chased by a jaguar and it catches him and it turns out to be friendly. And so he's playing with the jaguar. First of all, props to Bill Pullman, right out of the gate of his career, gets to play with a jaguar. Like, oh my God, how cool is that?
Pretty cool.
But then cuts to, the locals who gave him the hallucinogen are sitting there watching him roll around and giggle in the grass, thinking he's wrestling with a tiger and laughing at him while he's doing it. Yeah.
I had fun with that. I mean, you kind of have to. Then, where are we at? Oh, the covered shaman turns into a different man, which, was that Petraud or was that Christoph that he turned into? I never went back to check.
Oh, the
shaman.
Yeah, he turned into I can't remember his name, but the guy who was the police chief.
Okay, so that was Petraud. Okay.
Yeah, that's why when he showed up at the club, when he first walked into the club.
Okay,
and sat down,
I couldn't remember if that was Christoph or if it was that's
no, like that's why this morning. That's why when Pullman sees him in the club, he immediately reacts to him because he recognizes him from his hallucination, which,
then he gets pulled into the ground, and some of the roots are arms and hands, and then he pulls out of there, and then Julio dead. The pilot is dead. He comes out of his trip, and there's like a voodoo symbol, like kind of put on the windshield of the helicopter, and the pilot is
the village.
Dead.
The village is empty.
Yes,
like the village of all these villagers he's been hanging out with, the village is vacant. He goes to the helicopter. The helicopter pilot's dead. And he ends up having to walk to who knows how long back to the nearest civilization.
2 weeks, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was 2 weeks and then right.
Which, by the way, we never get an explanation about that. That is literally just like a precursor to this guy having weird psychic powers because of this trip he took, and now
that's just where the vision happened. That's the only reason that we saw that part of the story is because that's where that vision took place. But
the villagers disappeared. His pilot died. He had to walk for 2 weeks to get back to civilization, and then cut to he's back in New York and everything's fine.
100%. My excitement when I saw Michael go, when I saw Alfred pop in this movie, man, I was happy. I have not seen that man in enough stuff, and my God, he was just the dude of my childhood. Like, we all, like, if there was a Batman movie that did not have that Alfred in it, it was not a Batman movie. He was perfect. Like,
he was good, yes.
Absolutely was. So, Michael Gaz Schoenbacher and Paul Guilfoyle meeting asking about zombification, discussing
Mm-hmm.
Christophe Durand was buried 7 years ago. And when when he resurfaced and all that, they found him. He looks exactly the same. All this, and they discuss using it for medicinal purposes, and
Right.
for bringing somebody in and out of death, and using that for like
There,
surgeries and things like that.
right. And as a replacement for surgical anesthetic, that if you could just kill them, do the operation, and then bring them back to life, then that would be, a great way to go.
And realistically, yep.
Sure. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really could see that. If you actually got the body to shut down, actually,
Right.
and then you would not have to worry about the heart, you wouldn't have to worry about the lungs, you wouldn't have to worry about the anesthetics, like none of this. I can see why there was research into this, but when you find out the results, like what actually happens when you're under that kind of death spell,
it's like,
ooh,
let's not do that shit. No.
let's maybe not go this route. Then meeting the unexpected Dr. Marielle Duchamp, played by Cathy Tyson, as Pullman meets a classic zombie, buried 15 years ago, and the little conversation that he tries to have with her, he walks away just feeling like there was warning in her eyes.
Right, yeah.
And that's the thing. They lost a lot of them lost the ability to speak because of the brain damage that happened through there. So even these people who were buried alive, dug up, and forced into slavery, they wouldn't be able to talk about it.
Right, yeah.
So that warning in the eyes, if you are a person who's straight up thinking about supernatural stuff and all that, you're seeing that kind of warning from a person who can't talk, you're going to see those kinds of warnings. But
yeah,
again, I have to bring this back to the real world. The unbelievable terror and warning behind don't go down this. You're going to wind up a slave too. You're going to be buried alive and taken by the Bakors.
Mm-hmm.
The unbelievable terror behind the real, in the real world story of this story. Oh,
yeah.
I cannot express the unbelievable terror that I had, not because of this movie, but because of what this movie implied.
And that's what's interesting is because, yeah, this is a horror movie and it's a supernatural horror movie, but most of the most terrifying things about this movie are based on what life actually was like in Haiti at that time. They were under an amazing dictatorial rule, that was,
I guess, a little bit of a fun fact on this one. They only were able to film about 60% of this movie in Haiti, and then there actually was a regime change while they were filming the movie, and they had to switch over to the Dominican Republic to finish filming. No, you are very, very close. You're right there, man. It is that. My God, it is dangerous. Yeah. It always has been dangerous. There are safe areas, there are safe times, there are safe moments, but a lot of these countries are you don't step out of line.
Well, and I remember, I mentioned this at the top of the show, when I was, in school, my government class told us about this Haitian, this regime, the Duvalier family and their rule, and the Tonton Maquettes, their secret police, and yeah, no, they were straight up monsters. The things that these guys did because it wasn't even just about keeping the peace and ruling with an iron fist. They deliberately did psychological warfare on their own people. It wasn't just about keeping the rule. It was about terrorizing their own citizens to keep them in line. And they employed, imagine an army of Hannibal Lecters at your command, and that's what it was.
I got it. I know what you should be right now. Big Gay Al. It's been sitting here. It's been on the tip of my tongue since you got on camera in that shirt and them glasses, and it was right there. I knew it the whole time. But Big Gay Al from South Park.
I could also.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Accept, yeah, of course I know who Big Gay Al is.
Okay.
What am I, new? But I would also accept Sam Axe from Burn Notice.
Still never watched that. I still
Really?
need to see that one. I know, considering who's in it, I know.
Yeah, and it's one of the few TV shows out there that has a satisfying ending when it ends.
Ooh. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is not a common thing. Meeting the voodoo priest Lucienne Celine, played by Paul Winfield, demands that the doctor dance. She straight up no. And then there you go, sees the man from his vision, Captain D'Argent Petraud, played by Zakes Mokae. And
Ooh,
what
a
line.
villain.
What a villain, but what a line. In Haiti, there are secrets we keep even from ourselves. What a line. What a sentiment. What a way to get that point across. I fell in love immediately on that one. But then we kind of get this question because what happened to make that doctor dance? She doesn't even remember dance. He says she doesn't even remember dancing the next day. Never brings it up.
Yeah, and it was, we saw as she was trying to leave, one of the performers or medicine guys, I don't know, someone comes up to her and blows dust into her face.
Yes.
The very next scene we see her in, she's not just dancing, she's changed her wardrobe and changed her hair. It took me a second to recognize her. It wasn't until Bill Pullman goes, when Bill Pullman goes, Mariana, and I'm like, whoa, that's the same chick.
Yeah, that did too. But then when Petraud taps his glass and all of the dancers go mad.
Yeah.
Eerie. I mean, how else do you describe that other than eerie?
Right, yeah. Well, and they even kind of because the guy who's hosting him, the guy who runs that club that is hosting him, he mentioned something about possession. I don't remember quite catching it because a lot's happening and the guy's got a pretty thick accent, but he basically says something about how the people dancing have been possessed and that he's even shocked, like when he sees Marianne dancing, the guy who's his host, and he goes like, "Oh yeah, no, possession's second nature for her. Like this is something."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so this is like a regular, semi-regular thing of some kind.
Okay, fair enough.
This is
I got to give you that.
Which maybe if we read the book and learned a little bit more about this religion, we might get what they were talking about.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be reading the book after this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Chasing Kristoff through the cemetery, but nope. They were chasing grave robbers, and then they stumble upon Kristoff anyway.
Right.
Like, okay. But they did say that was the third cemetery that they had checked.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
So, okay, you got to give them that.
Which because very near the end, we get a very that's the thing. It's just kind of weird that this guy that they know who supposedly died 7 years ago, and now people are reporting seeing again, and they're looking for him, and they know no one really knows what's going on other than he's been seen around cemeteries, and they finally stumble in on him. Near the end, we get an explanation as to all of that.
Oh, yes, we do.
And it's, wow. It's one of those, like, dude kind of moments, So it's like, it's kind of important that that's where they literally stumble into the guy. He is just wandering a cemetery, thinking he's dead. Even when they try to say, come home with us, he's like, no, this is where I belong, and...
Which, the thing that does raise some questions for me is... if they think they're dead, how are they eating enough to stay alive? Random, like there's no answer to that question or anything like that. I get that,
right.
But if you think you're dead, why would you eat? Like they're like things like that, and also if you ate, wouldn't that indicate you ain't dead? Things like that. It raises some questions in my mind, but at the same point, if your brain has been trashed like that,
that's the thing.
Maybe you just come up with rationalizations of however they can be there.
Or you just don't ask the question. Also, I mean, plenty of people
you don't think to even. Okay,
yeah,
okay, I can give you that. Yeah, okay, I can jump on board with that. A fantastic line from Duchamp in this film. Sound like the way they describe you. It sounded like you walked on water. Now I know why. Shit floats.
Loved that line. That
Oh,
was so good.
amazing line.
Man, I'm going to put that one in my back pocket and just save it for the right person.
No. You need to do the whole thing like you did with King. Like you said, you're going to do with King Ralph. That needs to go on a throw pillow or something. Like you need to like that. That's got to be a thing. That is, if you put that on something, I would buy that and I would gift it to a very particular family member. Then I'd ask you to do that 4 more times so I can do it to the other 4. They find Christoph and describes hearing the dirt fall over him at his funeral and being forced to serve the Bakor by entering people's dreams. And like you were saying, he won't leave the cemetery, but he tells about the powder. Now he is a slave to the Bakors because he has to dose people with the powder the same way that he was dosed with them. And he thinks that that is his mission after death because of what happened to him. Dude. The way that these guys like would psychologically damage their own people, that is again the horror, the real life horror that is implied in this film. Back to the hotel and escaping out the window at the site of a voodoo altar, and then hey Blanc. Yeah, if you ain't jumping out the window, you dead.
Right? Yeah. If there was ever a jump out the window moment, and I do appreciate that he didn't hesitate. There was no like tension building where he's like, "Huh, what do I do? Maybe find a weapon." No, it was like he sees the blood on the wall and the pig and all that stuff, and then he turns around and he sees the shadow coming down the hallway at him. Like then they do a cut scene. Like the next scene is from outside, him leaping out the window. We didn't get a single second of hesitation. Like,
no,
nope,
honestly, pretty fantastic with the anxiety-ridden action that like came with that escape. They did very, very well with that.
Yep.
And then back to
some pretty decent stunt work from Bill Pullman on that.
I'll agree.
He kind of parkoured a bit down that wall there. Like, and it was really him. You could see his face.
Early film. He was giving it 100%. You know it.
For sure, yeah.
Back to meet Lucien and confronts him about the powder. I like this. An American wants an enemy dead. $100 to capture his soul. Louis Mozart, played by Brent Jennings. That might be the performance that actually stole the movie.
Oh yeah, you think so? He was pretty on throughout all of it. Yeah,
was like I think he was my favorite character.
Okay, yeah.
Just putting that out there. And then he asks who's in the bag that he has in there. He's like, "Oh, that's the previous owner of the bar," and just laughs his ass off. I mean, just a great side character. Fantastic.
Here's the thing: I am not a religious person, and I am not a superstitious person anymore. But if I owned a bar and I knew the previous owner had passed away, I'd probably do something like that. That's probably like, I don't know if I'd really do it, but maybe I'd have like some sort of like urn or bauble sitting up there, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, the guy who opened this place, he's up there." No, it's just kind of
I completely
bar lore goes a long way.
Completely agree with you. That's why when before I die, I am going to build a staircase and a doorway that goes right down right into the earth. You open it up and you're looking at dirt. And I'm just going to have it be a door to nowhere. And we're going to write in our wills to whoever passes it down, no matter what happens, if you hear knocking, don't open that door.
We'll just pass on a legacy of like, your father guarded the door, your grandfather guarded the door, you will guard this door.
I would love to. If there is an afterlife, that is what I would be waiting for, to see what happens when people read that and just to watch people stare at that door going, should we open it? I really want that. Sells him some powder for $500, and he's going to, when he comes back for delivery, test it on a goat to prove that it works. Pullman cuts the goat's foot to make sure that it is the same goat. And then,
while the guy's distracted, so nobody sees him mark the goat's foot.
Of course. And then hiding in a village and not in that hotel, obviously, and finding out about the crossover between voodoo and Catholicism.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, we kind of covered that on the Skeleton Key a little bit.
That's true. Yes, we did, and that is the interesting thing too, to see kind of like this juxtaposition, to see where like this Haitian form of voodoo and the the Bayou form of voodoo. We know they come from similar roots, but they've clearly diverged. They are kind of two different things now, but you can still see the similarities between them.
Well, isn't that where a lot of the culture in that part of like Mississippi and all that, didn't that come from Haiti?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
That's, I mean, I may be making a huge
French
generalization there.
French occupied Haiti and some of the slave trade in that direction and stuff like that. Yeah, and general immigration. Because it's not that far away. In world travel terms.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. Especially with the trade routes and what they were trading at that time. Yeah, there is a lot of just real morbid stuff involving a lot of this movie, and well, with just hoodoo and voodoo in general. And then we get another funeral procession. Everyone's sleeping in front of a candlelit tree. What a shot!
That was gorgeous. Like never before in any horror movie have I ever looked at a scene and gone, "Oh, I could hang out there. That seems nice."
No,
that was beautiful. And that's the thing is like I get it because it's like we see that, and then we see our two Bill Pullman and I'm forgetting the other lady's name, Dr. Marianne. We see Dr. Marianne
played by something Cathy.
Right. Yes.
Cathy Tyson.
Cathy Tyson, a weirdly Western name for that lady.
Well, maybe that wasn't her actual natural accent. Maybe that was a performance.
I suppose she did even kind of look Haitian, I guess. But either way,
I couldn't say one way or the other. I haven't been to Haiti.
Nah, that's true. Yeah. But that's the thing is like we see them sleeping under that tree, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I could see that. Like I'd probably chill out and fall asleep under that tree with just all of those. It's not even just like a tree, a candle covered tree. The entire forest around them has just all these candles, and that's gorgeous.
Something that has freaked me out. Whenever I go to one of the coastal states, and I see people just burning stuff in the middle of trees with no rocks around, no protection, no nothing like that, and I'm like, what is happening here? Are you guys all stupid? And they're like, this isn't North Dakota.
Right, yeah.
There's so much humidity here. Nothing is going to happen. And I'm like,
right, yeah.
I don't trust
any of you. We couldn't set this tree on fire if we tried.
And that's what this was like. You had candles on wood next, like literally flames dancing right next to bark. And this is real. Right. This was shot on location. That actually happened. That was a real tree with all that flame around it. But because of that level of humidity, basically guaranteed safety, which is crazy to me. That is not something my brain even like. I could never do that. Even if I was in Haiti, I could never do that. I could be there. I could enjoy it. I could join it. I could never be one of the ones lighting a candle or placing it somewhere. Because I know I'd be like, I'm the one. I'm the one. Somehow, this candle would be the one that dries out the forest. Somehow.
Just by me being here, the humidity has dropped enough to start a fire.
Exactly. I would not run that risk. When Christoph enters his dream with the corpse bride, dude, that snake coming out of the mouth, that got me.
Fuck that bride. Fuck that whole bride.
That whole sequence, how well that was put together, what she looked like.
Wes Craven and his creepy ass puppets.
Wes Craven is a legend.
Yeah.
And things like this are why.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, the man was an absolute master of his craft. The cathedral in that cave I loved that. I loved that scene. Like, you have a church that takes place inside of a cave with this pool underneath it, and the waters have healing waters, and that's where people go to congregate. To hell with going to a big wooden building. Go there. That you want to praise God, you want to praise what God created, go be somewhere where God created some dope stuff. Don't sit in a wood building. Like, that is how you honor, like, in my eyes. But it's the same, like, with the comedians that are like, you believe that God created the earth, but like, don't you think you should take care of it if God created this and it's kind of your job? It's kind of one of those things. Like
we tried that
live
argument
on
back
this
in the
thing
90s.
that
They didn't listen.
A lot of people massively praise that God created, but almost every time in almost every religion, when you go to praise the one who created all of these things that we enjoy, you aren't in it. You're somewhere else. That has always been one of the weirdest things in my mind. But moving on. Some hefty tension between. I was just writing. I was just writing the note. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm only not engaging this because I know that once I start down the road of religion, I'm not going to stop.
Okay, fine. So we'll save it for the after hour then.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Deal. I was just writing the note. There is some hefty tension between these two, and I don't know if it's the actors or the characters. And then, bam, right to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we get it right at the beginning because even when his narration,
that's a pretty
playing,
powerful love scene too.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, no, it was quality. This wasn't just thrown in there because the studio was like, we need some titties in here. Like this wasn't a love scene between these two characters that carried on.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it was sexy, but it was also very beautiful at the same time. So I do appreciate when the films can pull that off.
And interestingly enough, like it did have that kind of like, and it's interesting because it's like they're still in the church. They're still in the cave. They've done the healing water thing. It has a sort of ceremonial spirituality to it. Like this isn't just them boning. This is literally like a religious moment for the both of them.
Well, can you really think of a better way? I mean, and this is another personal thing. There really is no better celebration of life.
I mean, honestly, I've spent my whole life trying to figure out why the church is against it. It might be the reason why I'm an atheist.
It's. Yeah, okay, yeah. No, I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole until we get to the after hour.
Right. But no, to go back to what you were saying before about their tension, it started right when we first show up.
Agreed.
Like he even says it, he says in her narration, he's like, I was showing up to meet Dr. Duchamp. I did not expect Dr. Duchamp to look like this.
Yes.
Like, and he says it just as she's showing up on camera, like, wowie, zowie, auga, ooga. Like right away, the dude's like, holy shit. It's a hot doctor. Here we go.
And I will have to agree with him on that.
Yeah.
Then we get that beautifully peaceful moment over to the militant police, and they come specifically for him. They knew his name. They knew what he was doing. They were there for him.
Yeah.
Then he's sitting there joking about being a tourist with Petraud while hearing a man sobbing in the hallway. That grounded that scene pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because it's one of those things where it's like, if he told them, yeah, I'm here because a pharmaceutical company has asked me to look into this drug, that's an international incident. Like that's not only is he a dead man, but that's like, they might start coming for, the CEO's family in America. Like that's, like the guy even says like part of the reason why the Duvaliers are in charge in the first place had to do with the fact that of how much Haiti was exploited by the French beforehand, and they were the ones who just they were the ones rough enough to wrestle power away from the French. And it's like,
okay.
if we're talking white people from America coming in to try and exploit Haiti's resources again, fuck no. Like, yeah, so he's gotta lie. I am a tourist. I'm just here hanging out and to meet chicks.
You bring up a really good point there.
Yeah. Like that would be an astoundingly bad idea to confess that you're there from a pharmaceutical company to research.
I took that a different way, but you bring up a really good point. See, I took that. If he's there working for a pharmaceutical company, then that is a man who has connections that have a lot of money, and he is ransom bait. That's how I took that one.
At the very least. For sure.
You bring up a pretty solid point there. But a very easy way to date this movie, because here's the thing, man. A lot of people, you go maybe 10 years younger than me, 5 years younger than me, they're never going to know what the hell Grenada was.
Oh, yeah.
That has been eliminated from history damn near. Like, when's the last time you heard anybody say anything about Grenada?
I think might have been this movie, now that I think about it. Like,
more recent than that. Gotta be. but still.
Maybe. That's the thing is like Grenada was one of those things that I only even like heard about bits and pieces from like, vet family members and stuff like that. They didn't teach it in school. I learned about the Duvalier families because we got like one day on,
wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we got, by the time that class, maybe like 4 years.
Okay.
4 years removed,
I thought that regime change was happening while you were in class.
No. It was after. I remember because when Duvalier left the country, he took like millions upon millions of Haiti's dollars with him. Like he bankrupted the country on his way out the door. And I remember my government teacher, that was the thing that like really made him mad about the story. Like he got like viscerally upset, was that Duvalier, when the time that he was teaching his class, was not only still alive and free, but living high on the hog on the money he stole from his own country in France.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I could see
not
how that
anymore.
Would be a thing.
Yeah, he's dead now.
Well, sure,
yeah. But yeah.
But that still though, that exchange between the two of them, that was, I mean, that like again, I keep referencing it, but that's real world terror.
Yeah,
and that is something that this movie really played a lot with. So he returns to see the goat, but then calls him an idiot and drinks the powder in doubt.
Right.
I did not know what was happening until we got out of there. And then, yeah, the sleight of hand.
He reveals that he switched it out. So, and it was interesting too, because even the guy who sold him the powder, even he's going, are you insane? Like maybe it's not the stuff that, yeah, it's like, like he said, it's probably rat poison. It's probably something that kills you, but doesn't bring you back like he promises. And so, so that's basically what they think. They think he just drank a whole glass full of rat poison, and they're like, you're
and
dead,
none
man.
of them ever bring it up again. Like,
no, that's the weird thing. Like he doesn't
like, how are you immune to whatever? Like, yeah, no, like I thought that was kind of a weird thing.
It seemed to be kind of a catalyst because the guy comes out the front of the bar after they're leaving.
Yeah, says that,
and then he
changes the deal. He goes like, says that he will make the powder with him, but he has to be there and he has to make the powder with him. And this time it's going to cost $1,000.
Yep.
So this is where our hero becomes a grave robber and steals the bones of the corpse bride he saw in his dream, who was a sorceress before she died, which is, that's what they say in the movie.
Yeah.
Is that you need somebody powerful, so you need somebody who was in tune with these things when they were alive. So yeah, we see that corpse bride, and oh my god, I mean, oh wow, they did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
They did a good job. Then he gets taken by, oh my god, when he gets taken by the police for that oxyacetylene treatment. Do you understand what was happening there?
I'm not until he lit the torch. Like that's
okay. So in this scene, it looks like they're just kind of like spraying air on him. But what's happening is he's got acetylene from an oxyacetylene torch that is going towards him. So all that, he's breathing in all of that, and there's no, like, the oxygen is not there. So he is suffocating right out into the open world with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Ow. This movie, they really knew how to, I mean, and the thing is, the movie probably went with a lot of the stuff that was in the book, which was real world stuff that did happen in Hades. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to connect this to the real world in that way.
Like I said, as the Tauntaun Macouts, I can't remember exactly how they're pronounced, but they were renowned for being remarkably creative psychopaths.
We have we granted, okay, I know we don't have many viewers right now, but I would be very surprised if that doesn't dwindle all the way down to 1 or 2 after this point. He tells Pullman, "I don't want money, I want to hear you scream," and then he drops a hammer right through our hero's scrotum. And that scene, as that's happening, I was like, I wrote down, I was like, what just got nailed? Because that was the moment I realized he was naked, where that hammer and nail were going to. And then he gets dropped off back with Dr. Duchamp. And then he talks about, he's like, look, he was just trying to scare me, right? And then he's like, it was a nail through the scrotum. I'm scared, but I'm good. And I'm like,
yeah,
I wouldn't be.
Right, yeah.
A nail through the
Well,
scrotum? Oh my god. No. You have my full compliance.
right.
Whoa. I'm never going to forget
Which
that.
and credit to the film. In most films like this, we might show, like the injury and a day or so to recover. We are reminded of this injury for practically the rest of the movie. Like even like when he finally like manages to recover enough to go do the powder making with his buddy, we see him very carefully how he sits down. Like he's like like he like we don't forget what's happened to him anytime soon.
Oh, no. And I'm not going to be able to move on from that. I know I'm not going to. This crazy. But mixing the toxin takes 3 days and nights. Crushing, and then he has to crush the skull of the corpse bride, and the powder must be buried with her for 1 more day. These are the rules of the voodoo practitioners and what they have to like. And I mean, realistically, I don't know how much the movie went to the accuracy with what they did and what they do, all that. I mean, the movie had to movie a little bit. I do understand that.
Right.
It doesn't change a damn thing. The world building and everything that they did with this was fantastic.
Yeah.
Just clear as day. The Mozart laughs at his name being known all over the world for his life-saving poison. It's like, what are you going to do with my poison? Save people? Like,
Yeah.
I really like. He was a fantastic side character.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, he really was kind of the life of the party.
I'll agree. 1 more day feels like an eternity. And in the dream, we get the corpse bride. Wait, was that a dream? Yes. The corpse bride arrives on a boat, and then the jaguar. And then we get Tidy Whitey in a coffin filling with blood. Wow, that scene.
Yeah.
And we talk about this
out.
Mm-hmm. We talk about this on the channel somewhat often, but this is the benefit of practical effects. When you are looking at something that you guarantee that you know is practical, that the actor actually went through that, you're not just looking at the concept and the idea of what something would be. You're watching somebody actually suffer through those types of things in real life, and it was caught on film.
Yeah.
That is why practical effects should not be lost. One, you can replace months of work and all of this and millions of dollars that you have to pay out just by doing it the day of.
It is weird. It is weird how like I understand like some CGI was brought in because at the end of the day it was more practical than practical effects. But now we're doing CGI for things even if it would be cheaper and easier and better looking to do it with practical effects.
That doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Why. Yeah.
It doesn't look better. It doesn't offer anything. I mean, it doesn't. I don't know why we do it. There's a disconnect from it. It's kind of weird. But okay. About as bad as he woke up. Okay. He wakes up next to a decapitated lady in bed, and for a moment there, I was really worried that the film was trying to pass that off as Duchamp. And I was like,
that's what, yeah.
There's no way you chose a black mannequin 20 shades darker than the actress to pass off as her. That's where I thought was happening, and I'm glad that's not what happened. But the police bust down the doors and they take pictures of him in bed with this decapitated woman, and he gets arrested, and the captain tells him, those photos are convincing, no? So this was a total setup, and then he alludes to the fact that he knew exactly what was in his dream that he had the night before, and that he was the one controlling it. Wow. The threats and like how claims he's going to steal his soul and all of these things.
Yeah, well, yeah, we get the introduction to the basically like a phylactery, basically from the bar. He's like, yeah, it's the bar's previous owner, and then later we see that chief of police, that guy. He brings him down to the basement of his jail and shows him his room full of jars, and he's like, "These are all the souls that I've stolen, and you're next."
Which, even if you don't believe what, like in the supernatural aspects of what he's doing, every single one of those is a victim.
Yeah.
Like again, like
Yeah,
you,
for
like
sure.
even if you can disconnect yourself from the supernatural horror aspects of something like this, the fact that every one of those was a victim really
That's
that's the real world
well,
horror
that
that I
it's
connected
a
it to.
serial killer's trophy room, is what it
That's
is.
exactly what it is. But then Petrad tells him to back off or he'll send him to court and steal his soul. And even Duchamp tells him to leave and says it is the
Mhm.
only way. Like
Right. Yeah.
that is their world. Like you get the white man coming from America going, "No, there must be a way. The justice system, something." Like
Right.
even 3 or 4 times in this movie, he's like, "I'm a US citizen." It's like, dude, they don't give a shit. This
Yeah.
is not that kind of situation. And all right. Thrown on the plane at gunpoint, which as they're busting through like all of the other passengers and all of this, and they have the gun on it,
Yeah.
and they're pushed through that. Oh my God. All the ways they could have done that scene, and that's how they did it, and it was incredible. And I loved it. But then we get on the plane, and Mozart is waiting right there, and he's like, "I want $1,000."
Well, and even to top it
What's
off,
up?
like taking him at gunpoint up the
Mhm.
gangplank onto the plane,
Mhm.
literally shoving other passengers boarding out of the way to do it,
Yeah.
sitting him down in his seat, the gunpoint, and then to top it off, to add to it, before he backs out of the plane, he cocks the gun and makes like he might shoot him right there anyway,
Right.
and then decides against it and leaves the plane. It's like total, like fear is the point. It's like we could just kill you, but instead we will just torture you like we're about to kill you forever.
Which is what happens when he gets back to America too, because
Right.
he does make it back. Well, great. First, Mozart, he's on the plane. He wants it for $1,000, but he's like, "They took my money." He was like, "I'll do it for the fame," and then he steals his watch.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know, right?
I'll do it for free. But you can give me this as a thanks.
On account is what he says. He was like, "You still owe me $1,000. We'll take this out of it."
I like that. Medical testing and analyzing the powder, and they find out the truth behind the powder. You own, like, it doesn't remove your sensation. It doesn't do anything like that.
Right.
You are fully aware, but you look dead, and it only lasts about 12 hours.
Right. Yeah. So like,
But weirdly,
that's kind of
after that scene, they're still talking about, "I can't believe I have people that want to market this and call it Zombinol." It's like,
Right,
wait,
yeah.
you just found out that it doesn't work. What are you still talking about marketing it for? I never got an answer for that.
And you know what? Here, like, I don't imagine that would stop them. Like that's the thing.
I mean,
like,
you probably figure out something else. Like, look, we have figured out how to meditate or something. I don't know. Alfred warns him not to go back. Okay, I'm referring to him as Alfred. He warns him not to go back and not to go through the door to the mystical. You've gone up to the door and you've seen. Don't go through it. Like, gives him that full warning. And then another soul ceremony and Pullman's haunted soup. And I'm like this hand comes out of the soup and it just creeps him out. And he's sitting there sweating, just looking around at everybody. Nobody else is freaking out. So he's like, "Okay, so this is what this is."
Right.
But
then one of his guests gets possessed.
Deborah gets she eats her wine glass and then attacks him straight up.
Yeah.
And then no, like that was nuts.
Yeah.
That was crazy. And then what the fuck? He goes back. He went back. Like our character, after everything that we just talked about on the plane and the guns and everything and the soul ceremonies and all of this, he goes back.
Well, my takeaway is because of the dinner party, and I think it was kind of a lead up thing where, like, the guy's saying, like, how the stock prices of their company, even though they hadn't developed or finished this drug, there's already the stock going up just on the rumors that they've got something. So the way I took it was that word reached Haiti somehow, and they put the pieces together. And so now that's why they're fucking with him now. That's why they're sending him the ghost soup and possessing his guests to come at him, is because they were gonna live and let live as long as he's out of the country. But now that they found out that he took the powder with him and that they're using it, that's where they're coming after him. That's where we find out that the guy who gave him the powder has now been captured and is about to be executed. Like,
Yeah, I
they're
can see
fucking pissed.
that. Yeah.
And so now he's like, okay, maybe I could have let it go, but now the danger is immediate.
See, I
Again.
just thought it was Huey Lewis sending them back again. Like, because he's like, I haven't talked to Duchamp in 3 days. Like, I can't get
Right.
Calder and all this. So I literally thought it was the power of love that just got him all the way back.
And that, well, and that
But I do
maybe
see
was
your
what
point,
was,
though.
yeah, and maybe that was like part of it. But yeah, I think the thing that tipped him over the edge was the immediate revelation that, okay, they're haunting my guests to try and kill me, and they probably have done something with her. I need to go there and settle this. Maybe he probably didn't have a plan. He was like, I just got to do something, and so he goes back.
I can see
Try
that.
to at
I
least
can
find
see
out.
that.
Yeah.
But then he gets back and immediately, like on the tarmac, he gets kidnapped. And he does this, like what we were talking about. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Right.
Nobody cares.
How did they, like, and that's the thing, like, how did they even see him coming? These guys have like better surveillance than the NSA. They got him coming off the plane.
I don't know. I mean, you get like tickets, passports coming in. Like, I don't know. That's what I'm
he
going to say.
hadn't
there.
even gone through customs yet. He hadn't even gone through customs. He was getting off the plane on the tarmac, and they grabbed him.
Man, the guy was tracking his soul. He knew he was coming. Lucien, okay. Duchamp is safe, but not Mozart and Pullman. Lucien gives him protection from battles in his mind, but not on the street. And Mozart dies. Seriously, in a very tragic, very sad way, and he's begging on his way out, like all this. It is a rough.
It's not even.
Moment.
It's not even a fight. Yeah,
No.
It's a ceremonial execution in front of a bunch of people begging for his life, and yeah, it was a painful thing to watch.
That really was,
which makes it great filmmaking. But
yes,
goddamn, yeah,
it did very much. And then Petraud drinks Mozart's blood, dude. And then Lucien gets cursed, and a scorpion comes out of his mouth when he drops down to the floor and dies. And rough. But then the same thing that happened to Duchamp earlier in the film with that powder, somebody comes up to Pullman out on the street, hits him with that powder, and he goes into his 12-hour trip where they take him to the hospital. They almost call him dead. He immediately
knows what's happening. Yeah.
Yes. And that is where we get the line that's on the title, the poster for the film, "Don't bury me, I'm not dead." He's running around saying that before before he gets paralyzed. He's telling everybody,
"Don't let them bury me."
Yes.
Yeah. But nobody there speaks English.
And he's going around, he's trying to, and nobody wants to touch him because he's covered in the powder. And you have to imagine there are some legends, some superstitions that go around that if you touch one of them, then you'll be affected too. And because it's a powder, it's true. My God.
Yeah.
The real, like, again, the real world horror that comes in with, because all of this makes sense because it's what they did.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do it. I have not looked at that.
I hope not.
I don't know if I want to know. I do. Damn it. Okay. Sitting aware but beneath the doctor and Petraud, that sitting, like, the dude who's been haunting you, who's been threatening you, you cannot move, you cannot breathe, you can't nothing, but you are aware, and he's the guy looming above you. That is horror at its best.
Yeah.
That absolutely is. Threatening Duchamp and then leaving a spider in the coffin with Pullman. When we watched Arachnophobia last week. I mean, we've had, like, the fact that we had Rick Ducommun in 2 movies back to back, that was kind of wild. The fact that we have a tarantula in a coffin back to back, what the hell? Also, both movies by you. Not cool, man. I'm not a spider guy. This ain't cool.
You know, hey, in my defense,
I'm making you watch horror movies.
Yeah, for starters, that you know, this was your idea. Secondly, I did not remember the spider in the coffin. You know, it's been 25 years since I saw this movie.
Okay, that is fair. But I want to draw a little bit of attention for our viewers. If you look at the movie poster that's right here, you will see
Mhm.
that cross that is cut out from the coffin at the top. That's not a hole, that's glass. They
Yeah.
built the
Didn't
coffins
realize
like
that.
that
Yeah.
so the people that were being buried would be able to witness them being buried.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And they never even mentioned that. That, again, when you trust your audience, that makes it better.
Sorry, I just realized it was actually 35 years ago. So
Oh, 88?
I've been saying 25 years ago a long time ago, and for some reason I just now did the math in my head. I was like, no, wait, it was 35 years ago.
It was 36 years ago.
Yeah, I was 10 when I saw the movie.
Oh, wait, no.
No, wait, no, 11. I was 11.
Okay, yeah, no, that tracks.
Yeah.
All right, where are we at here? Oh my God, okay. Pullman gasped himself out of his coma, and then Kristoff returns. And the way that he buries, like he digs him out of there, and now Kristoff is a little more coherent. He can talk a little bit better. This is where I assumed you wanted to talk about that part.
Yeah, like what we find out at this moment is that the reason why Kristoff is strolling around graveyards all the time is because he's looking for people who have been victimized by him so he can dig them out. And that's what he just did. Like the guy's been, his life is gone, and now he's literally, and he thinks he's a ghost. And so now he basically just strolls around graveyards for who knows how many years straight now.
7.
Where he just, listening for people screaming in the ground so that he can run and dig them up before they go through what he went through.
Yeah, there's your superhero of this movie.
Yeah.
Jesus. But then the big celebration occurs as the regime falls. Pullman zombies through the street all the way to Petroud's, and Duchamp is taunting Petroud.
Yeah.
You do understand where she's coming from. Still dumb.
Duchamp is barely saved by the revolution. Like, Pullman doesn't show up in time to save her. They're about to swing the saber to behead her, and the only reason they stop is because the Duvaliers have just left the country, the people are rioting, and they're coming for the Tauntaun Malquettes. They're out for blood and revenge. The entire town
is there
fully
with
armed.
Machetes?
Yeah, machetes and machetes, pitchforks, Molotov cocktails.
You just copied me by that word.
I'm on a roll here, all right? But that they
get it.
Yeah, and it's basically the only thing that stops them from swinging the saber on her is one of the guards from upstairs running downstairs and saying, the riot is coming. We need people upstairs right now because the common folk have come for revenge and they're storming the castle. Unfortunately, that's us because the actual king's already skipped town.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about occult items like electric chairs. Massively revered in the occult world as like severely supernatural type things.
Sure.
The torture chair taunting Pullman in this scene is basically that same level of hauntedness.
Right. Yeah.
Like you got the electric chair, you got this torture chair that has seen God knows how many deaths, and the way that it taunted Pullman as he was going through there, I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was great. Being lured by Duchamp's voice, and then Lucien's head launch and the prison of corpses. Wow.
Yeah, that was okay. I understand that, when you talk about, like, if we look at this to a certain perspective, this is true in that he's just come out of the grave. He's probably still tripping off the hallucinogenic side of this drug. This is all psychological
what I was talking
shit.
about. That's what I was talking about. Why this still could be very much a true accounting, even though from somebody else's perspective, it ain't what happened.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, but at the same time, it's like, boy, did Craven make a meal out of this, because it is just one horrific scene after another. You got his buddy, who's supposed to be, who he watched die, now is there, attacking him and then tearing off his own head.
It's a rough one. It's very, 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 very good. It's a rough one.
Yeah. And then you go in where he's going through the jail that he's already been through this row of jails before. And we saw it before with the prisoners reaching out, help me, help me. Now he's doing it a second time. And all of those hands coming through the bars are corpse rotted arms that are like 4 times longer than they should be, all reaching all the way across the hallway at him. Just nightmare after night on top of nightmare.
All practical.
Yeah.
All practical.
And then kicking him into, this was my favorite part. This is why I'm leading up to this. My favorite part.
Okay.
When he finally slams against the door that goes into the basement. And when the door falls open, he flips upside down. That is probably the cheapest trick in this movie.
I'd agree.
Because all they did was invert the room and put the camera there. So you basically just have what looks like a gravity defying Bill Pullman, but it is
no. That's not how they did that. That was a room that was constructed with a hatch as the door. And when you look, you can see Pullman is holding that. So that
yeah, okay. That's what I meant. They inverted the room. They inverted the room and had the camera set like where it should be, where the stairs leading to it. So it looks like, from the audience perspective, it looks like a normal room, but it's actually been inverted. So when the door opens, Bill is about to fall right on the audience's faces, but barely holds on to the thing. And it looks like, and that's the thing, is like, it's all kind of done so quick that it's wildly disorienting, especially after all the corpse hands coming at him and he's panicking and running away from them. Like seeing that sort of just weird inversion of gravity.
I really do gotta say though, when I saw that scene and I saw him like that way on the stairwell, I got like flashbacks to being like, man, I've been that drunk trying to get to bed. Trying to climb the stairs. So I thought relatable. We've all been there, Bill. We've all been there. That's pretty relatable. This whole voodoo ass movie. This is the only thing I've found relatable so far.
But that's the thing, is like, that's what I loved about it, is that it was such a basic, very, very cheap, very run of the mill. Anyone, can do it kind of thing. But it had that such a wildly effective, disorienting effect for such a simple thing. It was jarring
from going from scene to scene like that, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so I really, really respected it in that moment, that they didn't go like, this is too minor. Like, no, this is perfect right here in this moment. And I really appreciated that kind of effect there.
So this was my cheesiest moment of the whole movie. Was when you get the soul of the Jaguar, and then the white man becomes the Jaguar, and you get Bill Pullman.
That was like fucking Marshall Bravestar over here. Strength of the bear.
Exactly. Oh my god! That was the moment I was like, okay, we have crossed into the '80s dumb stuff. We're there. But it was such a tiny moment.
This was a magical wizard fight, and he called upon the strength of the bear.
Well, the way that Peytraud launched himself towards that, I went back and I watched it again. I was like, okay, was that a doll? And then I realized that wasn't a doll. That was a stuntman who really committed to that launch. I think was a gymnastic tackle.
Yeah, I think he came off a trampoline that was just off scene. I think that's what happened.
Well, look at the perfect form. Like, that's why I thought it was a doll, because I didn't even think that the arms could move on it. Like, it was perfect.
Right, yeah.
Like, that looked like a gymnast, like 10 out of 10. It was...
Hold the cards up.
I was laughing too hard. I had to go back on that one. So then Peytraud goes down, and the torture chair comes up, and the corpse bride points to the scrotum nail.
Right.
And for those who joined in late, the scrotum nail refers to something earlier in the movie, and it is terrifying. Whoa.
If you're just joining us, there was a scrotum nail.
There was. Peytraud's soul comes back for that final attack, and then he's into the chair, and the scrotum nail is how he dies?
His soul dies? it seems like this is how, Bill Pullman suddenly has superpowers because now he's telekinesis all of these things happening. He's just telekinesis, him into the chair, telekinesis, the nail to come up and land. And then after that, telekinesis him across the room and down into hell. And like, that was it. That was the end. It was like a superpower psychic battle, which immediately after it's done, after the chair with him goes down into hell, and another very good practical effect of seeing the pieces of the floor kind of come up around him.
Yep.
And then Duchamp just comes off frame, just taps him on the shoulder, goes, "You okay?" Because you realize this has all happened in his head. This entire fight was just him tripping again. And she's just funny. Like, yeah, like that was the moment in the movie when I actually gave a full on belly laugh, when she just comes up and she's just like, "You okay? Can we leave?
You good, bro?" Like,
yeah, exactly.
No, that was like, yeah, that got a good ass chuckle from me. All right, so we are here. Final thoughts on The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I mean, aside from, like I said, it came to memory from, personal experience, and it wasn't a movie that I had felt the need to revisit a lot before. It just, because it was Halloween and they were doing scary movies. I thought, okay, what are the scary movies that I've seen? And I'd say my favorite part about that was when I told you about it last week. I said Serpent in the Rainbow. You were like, the fucking what in the what? Like that was a great reaction. That was my favorite part about it so far.
I don't think I'd ever even heard of this one, but I'm going to put it at a must see.
Yeah, well, I can see.
The connections to the real world and the actual history that happened.
The historical significance. Yeah, when you take in the backdrop of the the Duvaliers and the Tonton Malquettes, and what the realistic relations that it had to the local culture and voodoo and stuff like that, I could see how that hasn't been serviced as much. We saw it recently in Skeleton Key, sort of, but
true. But the thing is, like, when you're comparing it to the 13 Ghosts, mm-hmm. you had a family in 13 Ghosts that we were supposed to care about, but we didn't. We just didn't.
Right.
I cared about everything that was happening, even to characters that I never met, just because they lived in this type of world. I cared about them. I was worried about them. So who'd you care about more? Serpent in the Rainbow. Which one did a better job technically? Damn. That's a rougher one.
And that's a very unfair comparison, considering the 20-year gulf between these two movies. Just, but this thing is, I would credit 13 Ghosts in the fact that I presume from when it was made, there was probably a lot of use of CGI in that. It wasn't apparent. I would be hard pressed to tell you which scenes were CGI and which ones were practical.
That is a good point.
The only reason I can confidently say that everything was practical in Serpent and the Rainbow was because that was all there was back then.
Well, so, I mean, except for the Jaguar and things like the Jaguar soul and things like that. Like, those were
obvious. Well, cell shading was a different thing. Yeah,
it's not okay. So not a total wipeout of 13 Ghosts. But I will say 2 out of 3 because I'm going to recommend The Serpent and the Rainbow over 13 Ghosts.
Okay, yeah. I would definitely as well, yes. This goes back to
I'll rewatch 13 Ghosts more times than I'll watch Serpent and the Rainbow. But I think Serpent and the Rainbow is kind of an important one-time watch.
Right. Well, and it kind of reminds me of what we were talking about before with Candyman, is how one of the impressive things about horror movies is that they're not afraid to
go there.
Exactly. They show the real world horror in line with their fantasy horror, and the social commentary that came from something like Candyman or from Serpent and the Rainbow makes these movies important. That was not present in 13 Ghosts at all.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I'm sure, like the individual stories of the 12 ghosts, probably.
Yeah,
but we didn't get that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that's going to pretty much bring a close to this episode. What I have for you for next week is inspired by the Scream movies, but
Uh-oh.
because we're going into November, we can be done with horror for a little bit for you, Doc.
Okay.
And I'm bringing a movie that I'm pretty sure you haven't seen, Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble.
Yes, with Scott Caan and David Arquette.
No, I don't think I have seen this one.
Fair enough. It is about
Yeah.
two dumbass plumbers who are obsessed with wrestling, and they go on a road trip, and it is a goofy, fun-ass comedy.
Okay. All right.
What do you got for me?
Well, that'll be a nice balance to what I'm about to give you.
Ooh, what do you got?
In celebration of the fact that hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we will be done with election season by the time we record next week.
Right.
If we're
Yeah,
lucky.
we should have a new president-elect by next episode.
Here's hoping. Here's hoping that'll be done by then.
We'll see.
But in celebration of that, I have an election movie.
All right, what do you got?
Probably one of the most niche movies that I have brought on this channel.
Oh,
I
good
went
God,
and checked.
man.
The worldwide box office on this movie was $144,000.
Well, that's much, much more than the Sword of Trust.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Yes, Sword of Trust was... That's just fucking criminals. More people should see that movie. Oh, and more people should probably see this movie. The movie is called Secret Ballot.
Secret Ballot. What year?
Secret. It came out in 2001.
Oh,
in fact,
okay.
it's very important to understand that this came out in early 2001, June of 2001. I know a lot of movies we can sit here and go like, oh, this is a 90s-ish movie. This one, it is very important to remember the exact time frame that it came in, which was June of 2001. And the reason why is because this movie takes place on Election Day in Iran.
Whoa. Okay, that kind of
Yeah.
came out of left field. What's the name of it again? Secret Ballot?
Secret Ballot.
Okay. So that's going to bring a close to this week's episode. Remember, if you guys want to tune in, you want to watch us, you want to be part of the show, you can catch us Thursday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on YouTube. Other than that, if you're just here to listen, we have it out on Spotify, Apple Music, and basically anywhere that you can find podcasts. From here until next week, have a good one.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes, happy Halloween.